that pretty soon.
Yeah, how long's the drive?
'Cause I can see your energy, and I'm waiting on your frequency to rise. Before you interact with me, before you collab with me, or try, better get up on your frequency. If you tryna see me, share the same space or breathe anywhere near where I be. If you tryna get by, then your vibe gotta rise. Yeah, I'll tell you when you're...
And welcome back to another episode of Disciplined Stoners. I'm your host, Ellevan.
My name is Winnie.
And we are the gateway drug to mindfulness. And today, oh my God, these are just the shining lights. Winnie, start.
Okay, to my left, we have within the cannabis industry, probably both of them are famous within the industry, but
highly regarded.
A quality expert, a crazy hash maker, an educator on the plant. Same next to his left, educator on the plant, also cannabis edible maker, founder, director of operations and marketing in America and Asia of the brand Blessed. I want you to put your joints up for our dear friends, Joe Hash and Angelina Blessed.
I got goosebumps.
Thank you guys. That was incredible.
Thank you guys for being here.
And this is...
We love you so much.
You haven't been here since we've been in studio, which is
really
literally years.
No, this is incredible. This space is really nice. I love how you guys have gotten more space to work with. And
Thank you.
The lighting is wonderful. This is we've been seeing the podcast and just love it.
Yeah.
You were early adapters. You sat in our living room. Ange came first. We got to meet Joe. He came. And like just straight up, we like fell in love with both of you. And like you've just...
The feeling's mutual.
Bless you. Thank you. Bless. And... I couldn't constantly think of anyone who I'd rather align with than you guys. And I just love what you've done and respect the grit that you have to get through all the stuff that you've been through. And it means a tremendous amount to me that you guys are here in a duo.
I don't want to spend too much time on the past, but I would love for just viewers who maybe aren't in the industry a little like brief history of where you started in cannabis for both of you. That would be nice.
I started, it would have been 2014, as a Muay Thai athlete, just kind of wanting to help myself in my pain and whatnot. So I started making butters and oils for the fighters that were around me. And then started making cookies as well. And then they got into any of the legacy stores. And thanks to Amy Weinstein and Lisa Campbell, got into the green markets and just did that for a long time. And then legalization rolled around. And then I got the first full-size chocolate bar on the market in Ontario. And that was a crazy experience all on its own. But that went kind of ended badly with, the vegan dark chocolate with sea salt and cacao nibs and mint.
It's so delicious.
Really heavily based in CBD as well. So, it was a really special bar and a lot different than the legacy bar, which was like 100 milligrams. But, it was... I'm super proud of it. So
You showed us what was possible as a market, honestly. The art that's done in here, the care it was done with, the educational background of understanding how to treat yourself as an athlete.
The good ingredients.
The actual good ingredients, not just taste good. So fucking honestly, even without knowing you as a friend, just like what you did to the market changed the direction. So thank you.
Just like pretty historic too. Like
First full-size bar.
Yeah.
They didn't have full-size bars at the beginning of legalization. It was always 1 square, 2 squares. And what I've always said about that with regards to edibles is who goes to a convenience store or grocery store and buys 1 or 2 of any candy or snack food that you buy in the OCS stores where you're getting 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 of something. I've been waiting for the full-size snacks. Give me a baggie of gummies or a baggie of something because my consumer behavior acts for packages of things, not single serving little ones of things. And for me, that's like the K-cups of cannabis is when you get like this small little portion of a thing that you should be eating when you're watching a movie or listening to music that you want to enjoy over a period of time. You don't just pop in 1 gummy and you're like, oh, great. Here we go.
I'll wait for 45 minutes now.
So, you know, parsing it out and not forcing people to have to eat all of that oil or sugar, because we are talking about sweet treats here often, or oily, like snacky foods. So, you know, the fact that you could break a piece off or two pieces off like you just did.
Yes.
You know, was an innovation. I think you're right. It was kind of historic in terms of
Truly.
product design in cannabis in Canada.
It sounds like that wasn't the first time you've said that brief history. That was like, I was like, you were like, okay, I got this. Bam, 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 bam.
Once or twice.
Big highlights there, huge.
I realized after you were on the first pod that I watched you on Vice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and because I went and found that clip.
That was 2016, yeah.
Like, and I'm like, oh, you are my OG and my friend. That's sick.
That was really cool because it was a bunch of dudes with like balaclavas on and like voice changing. Then there's me in my gym shorts. Hi, I'm Angelina.
It was gangsta as fuck. And they were still using, I think, your Italian last name there.
Yeah, they put me full. They put me full out there.
I
Yeah.
know. But now you're Blessed, which is honestly the coolest brand, like just that move of that word and bringing that affirmation and energy.
Well, it was just always kind of how I felt going to Thailand and having those opportunities and whatnot, and then getting tattooed like the way that I did, and you know, the monks telling me that I am very blessed, so that it just kind of made progression that way, and yeah, so. Yeah.
Perfect. And so, Joe, let's move on to a little bit of your history, please, and thank you.
Sure. I mean, you know, if I had to be completely honest, I'd say I started in cannabis 30 years ago when I was 12 years old and found a pound of pot in my parents' closet. And I, you know, started selling cannabis from a very young age, and I grew up in Toronto, born and raised, so I used to hang out at Abby Roach's Roacharama and the whole community around there, like Lisa Campbell, Amy Weinstein, same kind of community as
That's legendary.
Although we were ships in the night, we didn't know each other, Ange and I.
Which is wild, eh?
For years and years, like decades, we would mingle with the same community but not know each other. We actually lived down the street from each other.
Yeah.
And didn't see each other in Parkdale
For like 10 years?
For 10 years.
What?
Yeah.
One street away.
Whoa.
It wasn't
And I knew
time yet.
everybody.
It wasn't, that's what we always say. And she actually started doing Muay Thai training in my loft building.
Yeah.
And I would see her and her training partners in passing, because I knew my neighbor, obviously, and I would see them with the door open doing their Muay Thai training. But I wasn't, and I knew that Ange and I would get along, because I had heard, like you, I had seen the Vice, I had read the article, so I knew of Ange. We shared friends, and so I knew of Ange. And I had this feeling that we would connect if we were to ever meet.
You could feel it, all right. Where'd
Right?
you feel that, Joe?
I set myself up for that one.
I just walked through the door.
Right? And then, you know, I didn't want to force it. I didn't want to, like, you know, insert
Yeah.
myself or interrupt training or something like that. And it happened very naturally. I met her at Mike El Hasho's High Variety when we launched Hashco. I met Ange in the store, and we started training together. And so that's how it kind of started.
The discipline brought you together.
The discipline, and then we came on Discipline Stoners as friends. As you guys reminded us that we were friends.
Brought my friend.
When I first came on Discipline Stoners.
First time Edge came on, she's like, yeah, can I bring my
I don't
friend
know
back?
if it went by the time you came on.
Yeah, I think by the time
it
you
was-
came
I
on.
think it was progressing.
Okay.
She
Yeah,
had moved in
but-
on you.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. No, that's right.
That's when it really has to happen. You be a gentleman and let her choose.
So, I mean, like Ange, I come through legacy, and I come by what I do very honestly. I'm not forcing my way into this industry. Like, I grew up in a very cannabis-friendly home. I have a long history of relating to other people in the cannabis industry, like Amy Anonymous, who had Can Do, one of the first 3 compassion clubs here in Toronto, which was historic. And I was, you know, a patient of hers and found great relief in knowing that I could access a safe supply of cannabis and hash and the new dabbable products that were coming out at the time and edibles, and not have to deal with dealers in alleyways and, like, going to sketchy apartment buildings and traveling out of my way. Like, it was a very central place, safe place. You knew where the supply was coming from, and she ran that place really, really well. And now she's just amazing, killing it with Hashco, right? Is their head of marketing. So, you know,
Sick.
I was friendly with these kinds of people and the people around these kinds of people as legalization happened, and was lucky enough to kind of, I had a unique education. I have what's called a Master's of Education in Instructional Design and Curriculum Development, which means I can write textbooks or courses or manuals or things like that. And I was an autism therapist for about 10 years and was an advocate for cannabis. Got 3 of my patients or my clients' kiddos on CBD oil thanks to some of the first clinics, cannabis clinics here in Toronto.
Yes.
And then when Doug Ford came into power, he axed the autism funding program. And so I had to kind of look at my life, and I decided, hey, why not marry my passion for cannabis and education? And I got hired at Durham College to build out the cannabis program there. And then I was hired by Centennial College to create a cannabis program there. And then I was contracted through Lift & Code to build out CanCell for the AGCO.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot about that.
The Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario. So now there's a new version of CanCell, but I was part of a 3-person team who created CanCell along with Peter Morin, who's now with the OCS, and Monica. They were my 2 colleagues, and we were the 3-person team behind the original CanCell. And then I was kind of contracted to really build out CanCell 2.0, which was extracts, edibles, and topicals. From there, I've worked at a handful of different facilities, including Meds as head of operations. I opened the Royal Cannabis Supply Co. store there, the second Farmgate store licensed in Canada. I've worked for Hashco as business development director. I've worked for Black Rose, for the Loud Plug Benny Blunto, Galaxy, Willow, Apollo Green out in Ottawa, and now PharmaBee out of Quebec. So I've kind
a
of
little bit of experience behind you, would you say?
a little bit, yeah. And I've built out hash labs and overseen grow operations, but my specialty now is quality assurance. So I'm that kind of check and balance in the facility to make sure that the regulations are all in compliance, that the operators are in compliance with the regulations, and writing SOPs, and kind of the last eyes on a product before they go out. So before Ange's chocolate would go out, for example, somebody has to review the batch records and the certificate of analysis to make sure that everything is within certain thresholds. And you literally have to sign your name and date, for the release of these products. So that's become what my focus of work is in the cannabis industry.
And is that just with the one company, or are you doing that all over?
I do what's called fractional quality assurance. So fractional is like the 2025 word for freelance. You guys are going to keep seeing this, but like the new freelance is fractional.
Nice.
Yeah, it's funny that they've changed the name to sound more kind of edgy and futuristic, I guess. But essentially, I'm splitting my time between different facilities. I've got multiple clients. I've actually started my own QA agency now. So I incorporated a company called Team Quality Incorporated in Canada.
Nice.
And yeah, instead of working at one facility and dedicating most of my time there, I'm spreading myself across multiple facilities in multiple provinces.
Yeah.
And
incredible.
Yeah, as I expand, we'll have to start hiring people, and yeah, I'm trying to expand that part of the business.
So that's
Congrats. That's really cool.
That's really huge and a great place to land. I think you have the perfect energy and commitment to the plant to hold that role, because from what I understand from LPs, the quality assurance person is stuck in a bit of a conundrum of ratting out their boss. Kind of. It's like,
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Do you bite the hand that feeds you if shit isn't right, or do you and work for the man in the way that you're hired to make the general consensus quality happen, or do you let it slip, take care of they're making mistakes, call them out privately, document it or not, sweep it under the rug, like. I gotta say, I'm probably a little too hood for that position. Like, I'd be like, yeah, but for real, just like, don't leave it so messy next time. All right, I'll see you later.
Don't leave the back door open.
Yeah, I'm walking through the gross, smoking a joint. Like, I'm not the guy for that. But I trust you eye to eye as a man to man. You and me, without people watching or it being a job, you're not gonna lie to me.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that delicate conundrum that you brought up there.
It's weird in that role.
It is, and I would have to say that I lean more towards, and my clients know this, and people who know me know this, that I lean more towards the latter of what you said there, is that, ultimately my job is to protect your license.
Yeah.
My job is to make sure that Health Canada doesn't come and observe that E. coli is in your product, that the products that we release are safe for human consumption, that the spaces that we build for our employees to work in are safe to do work in.
Yes.
That the working conditions are of a certain quality. So quality for me runs throughout the organization, and it starts at the top.
That's
the CEO has to be involved in quality, and everyone through all the way to your maintenance staff and your cleaning staff all have to adhere to his principle of quality. So I do believe in quality, and I like you guys use the analogy, don't leave the back door open. And I think that's a really good analogy. Like, do your job as best you can. And I always set a benchmark. And I obviously internally tell my employers about, or my clients about, a concern before I would ever go to Health Canada.
Right.
But I do want to tell a story here, and I think it's a good story in cannabis history, is the story of CanTrust. You guys remember CanTrust?
Yes. Yeah.
I remember
In,
the
like,
name, but I smoke far too much weed to remember exactly the story.
2019, yeah.
Can't trust.
Oh, shit.
They fucked up.
Oh, no.
They apparently hid the grow room. You guys remember there was
Yeah.
the polywall incident?
Oh, yes, that's right.
The fake
other-
walls
the
with the weed behind the
the
walls.
undocumented grow and the grow that's documented.
Correct. And this was Peter Aceto's time at CanTrust. He was the CEO at the time. And he comes from the finance world, and he's a really interesting character in the finance world. I've had a chance to talk to him a couple times, and he's actually a very nice gentleman and very good businessman. But he got caught up in all of this because somebody, a QA, was the star witness. This is all in the National Post. This is not rumor or hearsay. You could read this online. Go Google search it. Peter Aceto got embroiled with his colleagues at CanTrust in this scenario where a massive grow room was supposedly hidden from regulators and being grown without a license. It became huge news for years. He lost his job. His colleagues lost their jobs. They lost their reputations for years. It was very difficult for them and their families. And for the entire of CanTrust, because employees were let go. The operation got shut down. The license was suspended. The stock dropped 40% in a single day. Ooh. So everybody suffered. There were no winners in that situation. In the National Post, when it actually went to trial, he got acquitted, him and all of his colleagues, because the star witness was the QAP, who reported to the SEC that they were growing cannabis without their license, but he was wrong. It wasn't unlicensed. It was just, it was licensed, but had not received what's called ministerial approval. So it was a completely licensed room.
Because it was in their facility.
Correct.
Okay.
And now if you add more rooms, you don't need to get permission. You just notify Health Canada if it's within the same perimeter. And so it became such a non-issue that it was all dropped. But did Peter Aceto's reputation come back overnight? No. And who ratted on them? Somebody who's getting paid one of the highest incomes.
And he sunk their ship.
And he sunk their ship and the stock and his colleagues. For what? That's not even the final product being released to humans. The humans aren't going to be harmed by a grow room being bought. But for me, it was that somebody in that position who has training and education should know what they're talking about if they're going to do something like that. If they're going to take that kind of action.
Yeah. 1,000%.
And you've also kind of changed my perception around quality assurance, because when I hear quality assurance, something that it's not in line with the protection of a license. I've never, that protection of license that you started with at the top of that story, I've never really thought of it like that. So you're in the, protection of license to me feels like you're gonna take care of both sides of the conundrum, which is really cool. Whereas quality assurance, even when I work as a server or something, right? It feels scary. It feels like, oh, I'm about to get in trouble. Do you know what I mean?
But that is the history.
A cool reframing of it, where you're not here to tell on or cause ruckus.
Actually kind of safe.
You're here to be a consultant almost.
Yeah, so what I do, you both have said it now, but what I'll do, I used to say that I was a business first QA, and I don't think that that's a good way of describing it anymore, because I think that's being a little too forward about what I'm trying to advertise. But I will draw this very stark distinction between me as a QA and your typical QA, which is usually pharma informed. These are people who come from food, who come from pharma. They have a certain way of doing QA that is that.
Right.
They instill the fear. They shut you down. They block you from being able to release a batch. They don't help you to get things across the line.
Yeah.
And while the cannabis industry, and this is probably going to move on to the next part of the conversation that we're having here, because we're chatting a bit about QA, but is the state of the industry is this industry has not gotten any less volatile.
No.
Businesses are shutting down. People are losing their jobs. I think this is a conversation we all are having and need to have. And the industry is can I swear on this?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
The industry is fucked. Like, it's not gotten much better. It's not really stabilizing, and there's a lot of volatility that's causing a lot of damage to companies financially. They're going bankrupt still all the time.
And to what the culture can do, because the sad part about it really at the end of the day is it's going to lose talent.
That's exactly what's happening right now. It's called the attrition of talent.
Yep.
And there was just a post by Aggressive Organics, big orange beard. You guys have, I'm sure, seen him at events.
Oh, he talks like this.
You got him. Yeah. He's a great guy, and he just did this post on LinkedIn a couple days ago about how he's gone back to construction, him and his old cannabis crew, because they can't find work in cannabis. Nobody's willing to pay them. And so they worked on Beast Games, this new thing that came out where they're doing like these competitive games. And he built all the stages and stuff like that. But he's so
nice.
I'm seeing posts like this from people we know.
Games. I got really into that show. Have you guys started watching it?
No, is it worth watching?
I mean,
it's Mr. Beast's show.
I know.
It's awesome.
Is it really though?
So here's the thing why you would like it. It's a social human experiment to test our psyche and how we trust each other and what we need to take for ourselves.
I do like that kind of
Money
stuff.
is probably the scariest thing to people in general.
For sure.
Just even in Canada, we're so polite. So like even Americans I love because they'll talk about money, they'll talk about their investments. Canadians, like Japanese, were very like, I die with honor before I let it go. You know, it's a little sore just here, I had to. But like, Mr. Beast lines it up to be like, what are your priorities? And,
like people have to like self-sacrifice or their whole team gets eliminated. Like it's
and then
intense.
there was one moment where the previous game was like someone had to sacrifice, and then this girl got put on a new team with people that she had grown to be friends with, and she said at the beginning of the next one, she's like, if there's a self-sacrifice, I'll do it. I'll do it. Like, I don't care. Like, I like you guys. Then the way that game worked is that 5 out of 6 people had to self-sacrifice. And then so since she declared that at the beginning, her team sent her.
Yeah.
So like that sort of like give that sort of love brewing.
And then there was one game that I'm just going to share with you, and then we can move on because it's really wild, where there was split up into 4 groups. Each group had like 60 people in it. They chose one person, and then so there was 4 people at the top, and there was like a money ticker going on, and whoever like pressed the buzzer would get the money that it's at, and this was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay.
But their whole team would be eliminated.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they would still stay in the game.
Wow.
It went up to $1 million, and they were all safe. I was like, you've known these people for 2 days. Like, I would have pressed that button at 300,000. Sorry, fuck off. I don't know you guys. I don't owe you shit. So it is quite interesting how people interact and how we can fall in love with each other really quickly. Like if you're around people that are, you can build bonds really quickly.
Yeah.
Tribal.
Yeah,
It's super
very
tribal.
interesting.
And so rare nowadays, so I think it would be.
It is.
Especially when there's money involved, like
Yeah.
For
and,
sure.
and cameras in people's faces.
Yeah,
You know, like
and you don't know what living conditions like on all of these real what's the TV real TV called?
Reality TV.
Reality TV.
Oh, Beast Games? Reality TV?
No, reality TV. On
Yeah,
all
my
of
brother.
them, like even something like Dancing with the Stars or whatever, like they put the conditions aren't great. Like
I heard that
people
about, like,
make you,
Squid
they make
Games
you
too,
wait,
like, yeah.
you
Might
have
not
to
get
be
fed.
isolated for
Yeah.
a while. Yeah, like all of that stuff. So
Temperatures.
they're really playing on people's like
Are you
survival.
good? You good over there?
I hit another dab. I'm just clearing it out.
It's just doing its work. I like what you said about sacrifice, though, and I do like that psychological stuff when it comes to TV. And there's actually science behind that. It's called the science of altruism. And altruism is when you do things for other people without hoping for any kind of gain. So, like you said, sacrificing yourself off the team, knowing it's going to help other people, you know you're not going to gain. And research actually shows that it's good for your health. So it's beneficial to your health, like statistically beneficial to your health, to be altruistic,
Wow.
to do things for other people just with the intention of being a good human. And I think sacrifice plays right into that.
Sometimes I get confused if I'm doing it like just to be a good human. Do you know what I mean? Like that's when I get confused.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and I'm not gonna tell anyone about it.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
Outgood yourself.
here's my good deed.
Yeah.
No one's ever gonna know because I am good.
I think that's funny. Like, Ange and I have been having a conversation. Like I drank a little bit over the holidays, which is not my jam. I'm not really into alcohol. I think we've talked about that on the podcast
We
before.
did too.
Yeah.
And I got into it over the holidays, and so now I'm not on it anymore. And I thought that things would get better. I was like, oh, you know what? The world's going to reward me for not being such a fucking drinker.
Oh, yeah.
And I was drinking like whiskey, like not even like beer or wine, but like whiskey. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to get rewarded positively. The unexpected bills came in right after, like my leg gave out and my knee gave out right after. And then I had to remind myself, I'm like, you know what? The benefits of these kinds of decisions or these kinds of actions don't come right away. They come over time. You have to be patient for these kinds of positive things to come around.
Tumbleweed situation.
The tumbleweed situation. We are still in Mercury retrograde. So
We're in the age of Aquarius, though, too. I have a theory that goes with this, and then I would definitely want to hear more about like how you brought your bars to across the seas after this. But just what he was saying, when you make a shift in your habits and patterns, and you're like, God, give me money now, or give me a treat now. Like dogs are like, I sat, give me a treat, and then immediate reward. There's this cue system in manifestation. And I'm sure you can see this with like building a business to like when it goes to market from when you thought about it. And you're like building it in like fourth dimensional or whatever dimension thought space. And your current list of emotional activities or mental focus is still like those bullets are preloaded and they're going to have to fire out before these new ideas make their way in the queue. It's like, I believe it goes through our mind movie, through the passage of emotion, and then into our reality. So it's like, yeah, you're right. Those shifts are going to come like 2 seasons from, not like even the next one. It's like, and it can be so hard, perfect pivot to you, the grit that you got to have with life. It can really, I've been crying a lot lately. It's fucking toughy out here sometimes. Like
I like that. It has been tough.
you make a mistake and I get mad at myself. I don't know, or if someone fucks you up, you get mad at them mentally and you're holding, like, it's so hard to have discipline to not give in to either side. If you're mad at yourself, you're mad at other people, you're disappointed from this, but you still want this.
Well, that was all me. That was all me.
I'm saying, like, you built something incredible, and to me, I felt precious about it. I wasn't even the one who built it. I just got to enjoy it and rep the shirt when I met The Rock. Any point of visibility I can think of. But no, like, and then you kind of had it. Someone didn't help that expansion of that vision, and it can feel so hurt. I get so hurt.
I couldn't, because I'm also from the legacy market. So in my mind, if you're, say, not going to pay me or, not see my worth or whatever, or just not pay me, then like we would have taken care of that in different ways in the legacy market, right? So it blows me away that in the Canadian cannabis market, I see so much, I'm going to call it robbery going on with all sorts, not just myself, but all sorts of people, all sorts of brands lost their IP, all sorts of hash makers lost their equipment and their space and their like dream. So, and then these CEOs can just move on and bankrupt another company.
Blue collar criminals, baby.
And
or
still
white
get,
collar
and
criminals.
still get paid, while people just aren't, and still release more product when people just aren't. And so it's, but I had to hit that bottom and figure that out. And then with all of that going on, but then it was just a matter of talking to the right people and finding these amazing partners in Thailand. So it was the timing. Like I never could have pictured all of the bad that happened to me in the Canadian market. There was great stuff about it as well, but like the ending ended badly. So it's, but I couldn't have imagined that getting my bars to Thailand was ever actually going to happen, because I spent the last 20 years there in the winter and just like loving it and never thinking that I'd be like that was even a possibility. So the fact that I launched the bar in December with my partners at Vincent And it's just so much better than it could ever have been. So Valens made these bars in Kelowna, right? So we didn't have an opportunity, like they wouldn't allow us to pick the cacao. They wouldn't allow, they were like, we're using this stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's dark. So it was close enough to my old recipe, but like
Compromise.
where they're being made in Chiang Mai, it's like literally an organic cacao farm, made by like people who love it. And it's the most beautiful bar you've ever seen. And they're just like, so we got to work on it together. And then I taught them how, because it was just a chocolate bar making factory like on a farm. So it was, they made the most brilliant chocolate, and I taught them how to put the cannabis in it, right? So it was so cool. So just even from there,
that's a blessing,
right?
And if that ass kicking or disappointment or letdown didn't happen,
yeah, I still
would you have pushed? Would you have pushed to
No.
go to
The
Thailand?
new door wouldn't have opened.
right? Because I just never, I was so depressed over losing Ontario that I was just like, I'm done with cannabis.
'Cause we love you,
I'm gonna
though,
go into
still.
construction, But it was crazy, and then the fact that I always really pushed it towards fighters and athletes, which because of the marketing in Ontario, I really kind of just had to do that in an underground sort of way.
Yeah.
We couldn't like be loud about the wellness of cannabis. But I'm going to be doing a tour in Thailand and going to all of the gyms and being able to promote to the I'm not going to call them the real Muay Thai fighters, but the real Muay Thai fighters.
The people in the gym.
The people in the gym. And so I'm going to do, a 30-day tour, and it's going to be with Vincent. So it's going to be really cool to have my Thai partners with me. And that's
so sad.
It's how like you want to see it be done in Canada,
It's
like
a 50 milligram bar. We're adults. If we can have a big bottle of vodka in our house, and it can mostly be responsible with that, then I don't know why we can't have a full-size bar that's properly dosed. It's not just 1 milligram per square. You can, have 100 milligrams in your fridge and break off what you need, and you don't have 10 different packages, so it's...
for sure. Like we're adults. And adults make mistakes sometimes.
Lots of them.
So sometimes, someone who might take the whole 50 milligram when they've never tried weed before. But I actually was sad in the Canadian market that no one could have the opportunity of greening out. Because I think that it's just a good way to
Learn.
I think every person that drinks for the first time probably
Exactly.
goes in, and you
read
figure
my
it
mind.
out.
Yeah,
You figure it
14
out.
years old, 5 Smirnoff cans,
Wow.
Smirnoff Ice,
We are the same girl.
throwing up all night.
Yeah.
Throwing up all night long. Only ate bacon the next day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alberta.
That doesn't sound terrible.
The throwing up wasn't great, but
But all the rest sounds
yeah.
all right.
The heat is-
You bookended it with good stuff.
yeah, it started good and ended good,
There you
but
go.
the middle.
So that's incredible. So now your bars, the dream has come back full circle to where you felt it.
It was crazy because the original, like the first order was pre-sold. So like
Whoa.
it was so it's so I haven't even been to Thailand to promote the bar. Like I've been, but like
Since.
this will be the first time where I'm gonna have bars in my hand and just
Do
be
you
able
think
to go.
that your expertise gives you a one-up to be in the Thai market?
Well, I just think it's going to be unlike, the Ontario stores. I'm going to be able to be in the stores and promote it the way that I did in the legacy market, which is how it worked. If you put a piece of chocolate in your mouth, you're going to buy the bar. People
Yes.
don't go into the store and be like, I don't really know what I want. But there, if I'm there, like people will get it. When you can sample.
Yeah.
Like if we were in the LCBO and I saw that they had like wine bottles out and they were sampling.
know.
I'm like, how can they sample? But we can't.
For sure.
Their
Yeah.
lobbyist paid a decade ago.
That's it.
Our lobbyist hasn't got in those
thanks.
pockets yet.
Well, that's I think the crux of it, right? And we also talked at the very beginning about stigma, and you had that really nice kind of physical story that you made about stigma and your ego for the last decade or so, and I think that was really nice. You should probably reenact it for people. That was honestly good entertainment right there, and I think it was solid. Like I get what you were talking about.
I'll do it after.
But I think you hit it as like the policy like lobbying thing hasn't like come through as it has for alcohol, but then I think the stigma still. And this is obvious for me in the fact that you can stockpile as much alcohol as you want in your home. Kids can get just as harmed from that alcohol, if not more.
I stole from my parents' liquor
Same.
cabinet.
Yeah,
Stole
bought
from
her
my,
back in.
and my parents used to have like a full liquor cabinet, right? And that's totally okay. But God forbid I had a cabinet with a whole bunch of edibles and cannabis, like the judgment that you would get at a dinner party for that. Still from a lot of people, you get side eye.
It's weird. It's very weird to me. I have a great time having a stern conversation with older white folks how it's medicine. And then I just
even that
I'm a bit
though,
of a
I
wild
think that
character.
they can't hear it. Like that to them is a joke. Like to saying cannabis is medicine to someone who just doesn't think that, they don't.
But when you can look them in the eye and be like, if I wasn't high right now, I would have swiped you off your fucking chair when you said that.
But
Lucky you're high.
their Reagan era thoughts are just like it's a gateway drug or whatever, right?
They're
so their brain
brainwashed.
is still
so that's what
saying that.
Joe was talking about my presentation at the beginning, and I was basically saying when I started this podcast, I was like, I'm gonna wrestle the stigma out of people's heads with beautiful, disciplined people like this who also use cannabis. You can't even access those people if you try and muscle your way into it, and my progression.
And I just want to say something real quick.
Let them have it.
People who get drunk and then smoke weed, stop doing that. Just smoke weed. Like the inhibition is gone.
Or
I see it in so
smoke
many
first.
people, and a lot of like I care about what other people think. Me too, but like a lot of young women. Or my millennial women
Totally.
who are just like
That's
really scared about what people will think. And then they get drunk and then they smoke weed and it's not a fun experience at all. They're too fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. Like when
Automatic room spin.
Exactly, you green out. But as soon as, well, they call it green out, but it's both. It's called polysubstance use. And we know that when anybody uses two substances, whether it's cigarettes and alcohol or alcohol and cannabis, like you just suggested, the negative social harms increase. It's statistical. This is hardcore research. This is academic level research. Any two substances that you do will increase your negative outcomes, your negative health outcomes.
Cocaine and alcohol, right? Think about that.
Yeah.
So you
Heroin
brought
and
something
meth
up.
suck together.
Well, I mean,
Can't even tell the difference.
I think it's important to talk about this because this is something we talked about when we first stepped in the room and hung out in the living room with you guys. Is like, if you're going to be a cannabis advocate, I think at this point of legalization, you also have to talk about the real harms of cannabis. You can't just go on and, I'm a teacher at Centennial College and Durham College, and I've done this with a lot of students where like they think that you're a pro-cannabis teacher because I teach a cannabis class, but in all of my classes remind students, like, I'm happy if you don't consume cannabis and have never and think it's a harm. I want to have that conversation. Let's talk about this. And I think what you just said, especially about young women, like this is a statistical fact. They're arriving at hospitals because of cannabis overdosing, and then you get things like CHS, cannabis hyperemesis syndrome.
Which is a good lead in, maybe,
Right.
and you can talk a little bit about that.
So Joe and I moved out to Hamilton a year and a half ago, and right before we left Toronto, I had started not feeling well and wasn't really sure what was going on. I was obviously in the depths of my work depression and post-pandemic mentalness. So we got out I was dealing with vomiting episodes, and it wasn't around the time that I smoked cannabis or ate edibles. It was always middle of the night. I would wake up with extreme stomach pain, a lot of cramping, and a lot of vomiting. So that would happen every 2 or 3 days, and really just took the life out of me. I lost a lot of weight. And had a few trips to the emergency room because of weakness and extreme pain.
Thinking you were going to die?
Thinking I was going to die.
It was that bad.
And the emergency room doctor said that I have cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, and it's from years of heavy edibles consumption and cannabis consumption. So,
surprise, the edibles maker consumes high dose edibles.
but I was eating between 500 and 1,000 milligrams, usually of RSO, straight RSO per night, plus probably 10 bong rips a day, and but
My
still
kind of gal.
The mad scientist went mad.
Yeah, and I didn't.
She got high on her own supply.
Right, I did. Like, I should have known better. But I was really, really sick, and it did start to shut my kidneys down. So that's basically what happens, is that whole old stigma of cannabis hasn't killed anybody. Well, it is now, unfortunately. So I did a 30-day cleanse, and I was told I may or may not ever be able to consume cannabis again. And
THC.
THC.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Because CBD, Dr. Ira Price told me that I could still consume CBD, so that was great and a good way to kind of come off it, because I did go into severe withdrawal.
Oh, bet. Holy fuck.
Severe withdrawal.
That's the thing. People are like, it's not addictive. And I'm like, I agree, it's not addictive. Like, meth is addictive where you're going to throw your life away for it. But, like, it's a pretty good stern habit.
So
I would say
ingrained in my system, too, right? It was so ingrained.
Your
and
endocannabinoid system is used to having a shopping spree,
yeah.
like a rich uncle picks you up and goes to Holt Renfrew.
Right.
Your endocannabinoid system's like, we're fucking partying
Right?
every day.
But I was normal.
Then it's like back to the hood.
Yeah.
You gotta live in discipline.
You become dependent. I wouldn't say addicted. Yeah. I think the word that's a little bit softer than addicted is dependent. Yes. And especially if, like Ange and I, we've used cannabis as a crutch, so to speak, to self-medicate when it was illegal. And then as we got our ACMPR licenses legally, but to self-medicate holistically with cannabis for a lot of conditions and disorders that you would otherwise be,
fed pills.
Fishing,
Yeah.
You'd be a pharmaceutical lab rat for what's going to work with you, and you're always fishing for what you're going to get. It was a self-discovery journey for us to discover what worked for us, and it ended up being cannabis. It reduces inflammation. Like, we don't need to go into all the science that all of your community, or some of your community, a lot of, and we all know about, but we found regulation in it, but then it became a crutch. We became kind of dependent on cannabis to sleep and handle pain, and not looking for other ways of doing that could have also replaced the cannabis, because it should always be this path towards like better. How do we get more sophisticated or better or refined in the way that we heal ourselves? And so Angie and I have gotten more into sauna and cold plunging because of our good friends Rob and Sheila in Hamilton, who have a sauna and a cold plunge tank in their
Let's
backyard.
go, Rob and Sheila.
I present to you the actual disciplined stoners.
But this is true, though. You
mindfulness.
have to keep a tab on your relationship with this plant.
Use it as a tool.
And if it is leaning too far one way, like you should challenge yourself on that.
And
for
I
sure.
had no idea, right? And
Right.
even when the emergency room doctors told me that,
You didn't
I
believe them for 2 years.
Yeah.
They told you 3 times, right?
Two times.
Two
And
times.
not
You're
quite,
like,
not quite
"Fuck
for that
this."
long.
Because we
But-
can't be wrong, right?
But the last thing I want to say about it is that because it wasn't, you don't get sick at the time of consumption, right?
Yeah.
So it was really about me not believing, and then people just, I forget where I was going with that.
Well, and also like people, you get gaslit in the our
Absolutely.
healthcare system,
Sorry, that's
right?
what I was going to say. It's just like people never really put the two together, because when I did smoke weed, I would feel better, right?
Yeah.
So it medicinally would help me, but then hours later I would have, the sickness happen. So
Yeah, and someone's saying this is you, and you're like, no, this is something else.
Totally,
you guys are
I'm
fucking.
like, I must have stomach
Which is-
cancer, 100%.
Yeah.
I was like,
And then
was
if it's a
sure.
cancer,
Fair,
the
though.
big C, then it's like, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want even.
and so I'm like, I'm not going to the doctor.
I just want to live happy, do my
No.
fucking thing. Fuck going to a hospital and finding out it's
Nobody
cancer.
wants to go to a hospital post-pandemic.
Yeah,
So,
no one
so it
does.
just, for anybody, just like keep an eye out on, severe stomach sickness
And like get educated, like you said, like you read what the symptoms are, and you're like, oh, maybe,
Shit, I got all
maybe I
that,
do
yeah.
have this.
You know what it was? We were actually looking at some content on Instagram, and then I went and I looked into some academic stuff on PubMed, which is where you access like peer-reviewed academic journals.
Oh.
And I read this article about CHS, and I was looking at the symptoms. And it's like the DSM, which is used as the Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Psychological Disorders. There's essentially the same kind of thing for physical disorders, right? Like CHS. The 8 things that were listed there as symptoms of CHS, Ange had all of them. And never in my time, like I'm an educator, I read these things, I have a postgraduate education, I read these kinds of articles, I'm familiar with like how many in some amount of symptoms people typically have. In the DSM, every single human being has 3 out of the 8 things for schizophrenia, bipolar, yada, yada. We all have a couple of them. But Ange literally had like 7 out of 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, never in my 20 years of reading these kinds of articles have I heard of somebody who so accurately met the criteria of all these symptoms. And so I was like, Ange, the doctor's fucking right. You have CHS. It was just so hard for us to believe as a hash maker, an edibles maker. in legal and legacy for so many years. Like, this is our identity,
It's
right?
the ultimate irony almost.
It is. And that it was the punishment because we had held, the fire too long and we got burned, I think, and I think
I needed that tolerance break because
It
I
was
wasn't
a
even having
lesson.
one in Thailand anymore, right? So I needed that 30 days, and I don't remember the last time I took a tolerance break
Right.
at all. So yeah, it needed to be done, and it was just so nice to start to feel better again. But like, I definitely had to go down a little bit before I came back up. But yeah,
Yeah, so like emotional management, I think, is where I really like lean on the plant
hard.
for.
Absolutely, me too.
Yeah.
Us too.
I can't believe how negative I am in my head without weed.
right. The negative self-talk.
It's
And just like I find sometimes, like if I'm depressed and sober, I am in paralysis. And if I'm depressed and high, I'm a functioning human being.
I loved getting high and going to the grocery store, like as high as I possibly could get, and go to the grocery store.
It
And, like,
allows
it
you
was
to get
just,
out of that.
Yeah.
It was some things were just so much fun, and like
Yeah.
But
feel
the-
like
So how like what were your repercussions coming off weed for after so long and not doing it for 30 days? Because there's also probably some withdrawal, I imagine.
Oh, there was actual physical withdrawal with me. I just think my endocannabinoid system was just completely overwhelmed. I think Joe thought I was having a bit of a stroke one day, and it ended me up in an ambulance. And yeah, they just had to help me calm down. So it was, my regulatory
And-
system just was shot so we, had to get me into the sauna, and like, we just kind
Showers, baths,
yeah.
almost
and when did
every
that start
couple
to
hours.
alleviate?
Oh, it was about 10 days probably. Yeah. 10 days. But like, it took me
That's a lot, but
took
it's also
3.5 weeks to start working out again.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like, just even being able to walk the dog more efficiently and everything. Like, we have a big 100-pound boy. So
I know.
Like, you remember your
boy.
ECS, your endocannabinoid system regulates everything from sleep to hunger to your body temperature to your mood and your emotions. Your endocannabinoid system regulates your whole body. It's what brings you into a state
better,
of
which is weird because I would have thought that eating that amount of edibles. But I think when I would just eat so much edibles, I would just lay there and just be unconscious. I don't think I was actually sleeping.
It's really nice though for you guys as partners to have experienced this, because maybe weed can't fix everything.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And like, maybe that's okay. And like, maybe we can start being just like a little bit more honest with weed. I think weed people have been like, it's only good all the time because we're trying to validate ourselves.
Moderation and everything, including moderation, right? It's like, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Like, I hope if you're smoking a ton of weed, you are consuming in the healthiest way possible.
Yeah.
Edibles is probably a better deal. Are you taking enough CBD? Are you exercising as well?
Yeah.
Are you going
For
to
sure.
therapy? Are you talking
Yeah.
to someone? It's not just
are you
like.
drinking
Are you
kombucha?
eating vegetables?
Right? Like,
A couple
all of-
days
all
ago,
of
I
the
was like,
things.
I haven't had a vegetable in like 3.5 days.
You know how expensive they are? Are we rich? Oh my God.
There's
I can feel it, though.
There's also this other phenomenon of when you quit a bad behavior, which is known by researchers. When you quit one bad behavior, typically you replace it with other bad behaviors.
Yes.
Like, this is kind of known. So like, do you pick up drinking or eating junk food?
Yes.
Or, what do you
The
do
comfort.
to compensate
Yeah.
to get to that comfort? And this is like, again, back to the ECS, the endocannabinoid system, you're always trying to seek this state of, oh my God, what's the term again? When you
Balance.
balance, homeostasis.
Yes, yes,
Sorry, that's the term. Homeostasis.
You're so cute just then.
I love
That's post-injury Joe brain right there. That's the fucking fracture,
it. But he's back and in it.
right? But yeah, there you go. It's like homeostasis. You're trying to always achieve this state of balance, of harmonial or emotional balance, physical balance, and when you're coming off of cannabis, that is out of whack. Your homeostasis is just not there.
Yeah.
You're not thinking clearly. You're not
it's cranky.
feeling. You're crank. I didn't want to say it, but she just said it. So
That's very brave and big of you.
that was very humble. That was very humble of you.
Did
That was
CBD
good.
help at all with the?
It did, but I didn't. I
That's
didn't
good.
realize that I could have it for. I think it was about 2 weeks. But as
Okay.
soon as, we had
So you went through the the hardest
She went full
part.
panic. She went, I am never having cannabis ever again. It's just not going to happen.
Well,
Don't even. And I was just
yeah.
like, no.
I didn't know.
When
right?
you
And
feel
We were
so
in fear.
shitty, right?
That's
Like,
how it gets. You're like when
they
you're
say some people can't ever go back to it, right?
Yeah.
They say some people can't even be in the same room as it. So we
Yeah.
had just gone to, was that
Get
Karma Cup
sensitive.
when it was, everyone was smoking inside.
Yeah.
Like
And
I'm
you
just
were
like I'm probably never going to be able to go into a room like that.
In the old basement location, which was fucking dope.
Yeah.
We used to go to raves there.
oh, nice. It was
Oh,
fun.
dope.
Yeah, it was a
We
great
we
event.
didn't see you guys. We caught the tail end of it.
we went late.
And we went early.
Yeah, I couldn't breathe.
I'd love to know, just like with all of your background in cannabis and being around and in the industry, I like to talk about the like what could be the ideals in like policies moving forward. Like I'd love to hear both of your opinions on something that could happen within the next couple of years that could sort of propel us out of this volatility.
Or
Thank you.
lull that's happening with the culture, or
Right.
Yeah.
I like how you said that contrast, the lull and the volatility,
Yeah.
which for me are on the other ends of the spectrum, but are
Business.
both accurate. in
Yeah.
Business
happening.
culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Like, and that's what you'll notice. And then once we bring that down, that comes up.
It's just hard because it became an industry. So right away, it just they took out the cool people of it, and then they just their brains just went to how can I make this cheaper and faster.
Bottom
and,
line.
and it became about bottom line. So people were like, I'm not going to buy a $8 chocolate bar. I'm like, oh right, because the quality is amazing. But it never like those products don't. It doesn't have to be that expensive, right? But with what the government puts on top of it, and then the government takes more of it, and then like there was no possible way to make any money in Ontario with that chocolate bar,
Double,
even
triple
though
dipping.
right, even though it was a great idea and people loved it and whatever, but like there was just no possible way to do it, and we had more ideas of other things we'd like to do, but there aren't really.
I wanted your water.
I wanted the water.
So bad.
right. It was such a cool idea, but like it would have been like $8 as well, right?
Yeah.
And it was just water. I'm like, but I can just put weed in it. It's fine, like. But everything became more difficult, and it's disheartening, right? So.
Yeah, I think for me, one big concern is we just had this legislative review of the regulations that just happened. It was the 5-year review post-legalization, and they listened to industry stakeholders for what they wanted. So it's a good question, and people like me and Ange and Lisa Campbell, Abby Roach, your Abby Sampson, other people I would call friends and colleagues and advocates in the industry. Probably gave a lot of recommendations because they've been doing it a long time, like Ange and I. And so we advocated for things like transparent windows and packaging so you could actually see through it.
It's a cool step.
Right? Or like not having to have a security cleared person on site to do business, like having to pay for somebody to just be there to be security cleared in order to run your business. You're shooting yourself in the foot right from the get-go.
Yeah.
To have to
That's
account
a fucking $60,000 salary.
at least that's minimum.
Yeah.
And you have to pay $2,000 for the security clearance, right? The need to destroy plant material. So that's going to be, that was said, okay, we shouldn't have to make people document and, account for in their
Very
monthly
good.
inventory plant material that you're not selling as weed. So these things were proposed to change along with a lot of other things. The problem is that we're going to have a change of government. We're probably going to be
Yeah.
moving towards a conservative government,
Yeah.
which means all of the legislative review outcomes could not actually occur. Because you're going to have a new conservative government, which, although they've been pro-cannabis in the beginning, I have to remind people that it was under Harper's government that we got the original cannabis regulations, the MMAR. So, before MMPR and ACMPR, we had the MMAR, which a lot of my friends are grandfathered into. And, that was Stephen Harper. That was the conservative. So I'm not saying that it's all going to be bad, but I'm saying it could be different.
Yeah.
Because the conservatives could come in and they could say, oh, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this or do our own legislative review. So I just wanted to put that out there just as an educational thing for
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know that.
everybody.
I didn't think about that.
What would
Makes
I?
sense.
It does make sense. What would I like to see? I just read an article recently. I think it was from StratCan, David Brown, who posted an article about what Alberta is doing and how the regulators there allowed for it to be a little bit more accessible to consumers. Something that we'd probably be more interested in, and I think it involved. I'm trying to remember. I don't want to misquote it, but I'll just say that's probably, you could find out what Alberta is doing, and that's kind of what I would recommend. And
With the licensing and such of where you can activate?
not just licensing, but the licensing fee, how much you have to pay to get licensed.
So limitations and gate holding, that's, yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
so it's more accessible to get into the business. It's more as an operator. Your listing fee is less. So if we wanted to list a product in Alberta, it used to be something like $1,500. Now it's going down to $250.
Good.
So it's
That's
opening up.
insane.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel our boy there who just stepped down, he was like, I got him, guys. All the legacy people who are brave enough to come into the legal stratosphere, we're gonna bend you over and milk you for about half a decade. And like make sure that even a retail operator who, when he started with 1922, they start at full team, idealistically, all the people you'd want to help move all these parts along. Now it is just them. And anyone who survived, Cliff at Spirit Leaf Italy, like they're there. Like the owner, it's like you
Manny's Tote,
Manny's
too,
Tote, like they got all the indie guys who are surviving.
Yeah.
They have to be there, and like we're hopefully almost out of the smoke. You know what I mean? Like hopefully, I'm just being super optimistic in the way that maybe we can start to build back some opportunities that generate revenue even outside of just retail sales.
From your lips to God's ears, man. But I think because of the attrition of talent from people who are leaving this industry to construction and technology will never come back. Once they find stability in their former industries or new industries.
There's too much hurt. There's so much hurt. People lost their dreams, right?
So that talent will never come back, and the cannabis industry is forever going to be in a different place because of that. Not necessarily worse, but different. What do I think in terms of when the industry is going to get better? I've always used this model of the Gardner hype cycle, which is used for technology. And we've talked about this before, I think, on the last time I came on. But I love reminding people about it and some of the new viewers that you might have.
Please.
There's this model used for predicting kind of trends when a new innovation comes to market. And this is applied generally to technology, but I've been using it with my students and my colleagues to talk about the cannabis industry. And essentially what you see is, it's called the hype cycle. And what you see is this big boom of interest when a new thing comes out. Investors, businesses, employees, educational programs, government programs, and legislation and policy coming out. You just see a boom of stuff happening. And this is kind of what we saw in the early legalization days in 2017, 18, 19. Lots of investment into 2020 and stuff like that. And then you have the pop of the bubble. And it's actually, the bottom of it is called the trough of disillusionment. And I love that term because that's exactly what it is everybody wakes up and says, oh, so even though CanTrust wasn't hiding weed, their numbers are shit. Like, these companies aren't worth what they said they were. They're all evaluated. These people couldn't pump out the product quality that like Ange and the smaller operators were, so the bubble popped.
They pumped and dumped.
There's a lot of cases of that and bankruptcies. And so, for me, the conversation that you're trying to have is, where in the trough of disillusionment are we?
Right.
Are we on the further downswing into the very pit of the trough?
God, I hope not.
No,
Or
just about.
Are we on the very beginning of the upswing into what's called the slope of sustainability and the plateau of productivity?
Yeah.
When it goes straight and it goes to where all the other commodities are, like your breakfast cereal or your sugar or your soup or your pizza. It's not going to be such a high price and volatile market like it was during the boom. It's going to be where all, like your cigarettes and alcohol are priced.
And it's the bar of advertisement to be able to create that accessibility. And you look at like alcohol and compare, but it's like their prohibition was 1920. They've had 100 years.
Yeah,
to
that's
come
what I
back.
was.
And that's why I said
We're only 5 years out.
That's why I said be careful. You're like, oh, I think maybe I was just like, no, it's going to take 50 to 100 years, brother.
We're still in that dirty dark pit, and that's where like honestly, I've usually done the best. I'm like, well,
good point.
I've never had support. Like I don't like the amount of people that talk to me about starting a podcast, and then I'm like, all of this was first of all gifted to me. I still can't really afford to go buy these, like flat out.
But it's the hustle that forces
I
like
busked on
that
this
grind.
Mic. This is my busking mic. Like it's like you don't, it never.
It's about love,
If
though. Like,
it's
I
a
haven't
win-
been paid since 2021.
You know what I'm saying?
So,
Like,
you
so
know, any
what?
of those
Stand up.
CEOs, if they weren't getting paid, they would be the hell
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
right? But like, it's because we do it for love, and that's
Stand up. It's like
Yeah.
you're the only pillar still standing when everything's dark. It's like, fuck, that'll be me right there, bitch. And then like somehow you end up being still standing. So you're undeniable, like what Burner did with Cookies. Not the best lyricist, but he's a huge fucking rapper now because he just stayed. Just stay.
Perseverance and grit.
Yeah.
So would
It
you say that
sucks.
every new industry could kind of have this format of hype, finding out not so hype, and then plateauing?
Yeah, I think that's all the Gardner think tank group did. So this isn't named after a guy; it's named after a group. They're a think tank, and I think all they tapped on was this natural curve of economic bubbles. There's something called
Yeah.
the South Sea bubble that happened. There was something called tulipomania that happened in human history, where people would trade literally their daughters away for a single tulip or a whole estate, because the sign of nobility at the time among Dutch people was if you had a tulip, you were wealthy. And so humans go through these booms and busts. It's called boom and bust economy, right? It happens. And so, yeah, I would say, especially with the bigger things like the internet or like
Right.
a computer. I think these bigger industrial and economic trends, yeah, they all follow a very similar curve of hype and then popping. And, that's aptly named the hype cycle. And, some people have, I had a conversation on LinkedIn where somebody said, but it's not statistically based. And I said, just because it's not statistical doesn't mean it's not true.
You can follow the people. So here's what I find
Right.
fascinating about this example. Our industry, their industry, their industry, the people riding this economic bubble wave are the same group of motherfuckers.
Right.
And they're usually spearheading where the stock market money goes to.
Hey, that's funny.
That
yeah.
brings me back around to the pump and dumpers because I know these guys from the hood. They're just ones with motherfucking ties on.
Yeah.
They're borrow the money from this guy and get you back next week and all this nonsense. They're just moving around digits, causing chaos because it's for profit. And you've seen it happen like with rap. Like when I first loved rap as a kid, they were like fad. Like will go away.
Right.
And it's like you see people take it to the mainstream. That's their function.
Yeah.
And there's a tariff on that.
It's funny you say that. I think you picked up on something really important, which is I don't think the boom is going to happen until the U.S. legalizes federally.
There it
Yeah.
is. There it is.
Like you're talking about, so those people can get into the stock market and make their big fucking money.
There
They're
it is.
happy the Canadian market is in shit. They're like,
Yeah.
it's just stay in shit
Yeah,
like
we
another
just fucked
4 to 8 years,
Totally.
a couple Trump presidencies more, then we'll come back around and buy your company in Canada for
Yeah.
millions of dollars. But yeah, I
Yes.
think that was it. You know, it might have a little bit of a tap of conspiracy in it, but like I think
No, you can follow the names. You can see the companies
The
that
family
like
names.
and that's great that they've diversified. I could start an LLC about a new name tomorrow too.
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is the same move. The same play is being done. And it's like it takes a certain level of street smarts or conspiracy delusional, I think, to identify that, to step back from it, because everyone's so lost in the drama and no, this is my industry and this is me and my dollars, and it's like, not if Canopy gets it first, or you just
I wanna
executive
know,
offices. Go and look at their balance sheet. Executive offices, $400,000 a month.
I want to know how much time you guys are spending together making product, because I see you guys online washing your hash, or I don't know the lingo. I have
That's the lingo.
That's the lingo. And I just want to know, like, is this everyday ritual that you're doing together, creating some type of product?
Well, unlike, again, what's happening in the industry, I don't think there's any need to be full-time hash makers, but we're definitely
Yeah.
seasonal, right? So right now it's super full on and it's cool. And we just moved, so we had to set up the space again, and so we just got the space set up, and now we're running. And,
Yeah. Now it's an everyday thing. So like for like I'm doing people's home grows. I did my home grow. Got a whole bunch of dabs that you guys can show the viewers. We'll do some.
It looks
some side shots.
it looks like you're having a fun time together doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
Is that something that's like I don't know,
it's
like
work.
a little
It's-
thing?
And it's honestly, it's the
Yeah.
hardest work. It's the hardest, wettest, cold, wet work.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's fun.
We listen to tunes, and the dog, comes
Yeah.
and checks on us, and I make sandwiches, and like it's,
That's fucking cute.
I was smoking bongs and stuff, and yeah, it's cool. Like you guys spend a lot of time together too, right? Doing what you do. So it's, yeah.
I think Winnie's asking for guidance. I'm a lot to deal with.
No, we are too. Don't worry. I think we're all four of us, stronger personalities. So yeah, we are lucky that we have some things that we can share, but that also translates into the kitchen, for example. Like, we've always had this. Like, it's been a joke that I put my hash into her chocolate since we met, and like that's like kind of like how we.
Oh my God, that's a Valentine's card.
Yeah, basically.
Can I put my hash in your jug?
Yeah.
Love ever since.
And that's how kind of the relationship, aside from Muay Thai training, evolved. But like, so now it'll be like our late night kitchen snacks, where we just figure out these concoctions, and it has nothing to do with getting high, or I guess it has a natural extension of getting high, because you get high and then you bring out the Eggos, and then you bring out the ice cream, and you bring out the chocolate, and then you're like, oh, we could add bananas, and there's always that experimentation thing. And I always joke that Ange and I are alchemists, because like we do try to make interesting concoctions out of cannabis and out of just regular food items, but I think that's what leads to a product like her Blessed Bar, and the new evolution of it in Thailand is just like it's informed by our creative kind of collabs, and this is how our ideas have come out, and kind of we've created some innovative solutions in that world.
Like my kitchen experience adds really well to the hash lab, and his business experience adds really well to my creative work, so like it complements each other that way.
Angelina, if everything were to go absolutely ideal and perfect in the market in Thailand, what does that look like?
Set that vision, baby.
That would look like, they have over 6,000 stores right now. So the market is huge, and we've gotten into some of the big chains. So it's just going to be about selling bars and being able to hopefully get some into some gyms and stuff like that. Being able to, Phuket has such a crazy foreigner fighter population. So, it's people that are looking for wellness, that are looking for recovery, and me being able to be there and explain it to them would be great. And then, we can rent a house there for
nice
$200 to $300 a month, right?
What?
So,
yeah. And there's travelers who go back and forth between Toronto and Thailand a lot, and so there's going to be people who recognize Ange, and they're going to be like, holy shit, that's the Blessed Bar from the Canadian market.
It would be
Is there advertising allowed in Thailand, like on like socials and stuff?
Not so much.
Yeah.
You don't see, you see some of the stores have Instagram, but not a lot of them didn't. So they use a lot of QR codes. So you go in and you pay through QR code, and you get their information by QR code. So there isn't not a lot of Instagramming, but
they're still in the Wild West in terms of regulations going back and forth. So the new government came in and they said, oh, we're going to take away cannabis legalization.
Yeah.
And so it's been really volatile there as well. But because it's the Wild West, they did the opposite of what Canada did. Canada came out the gate for legalization with a lot of regulations that now over time we're going to pull back the regulations and cut the red tape. Whereas Thailand went the complete other way. We're just like, fuck the regulations. Let's
see what happens.
Let's see what happens. But then now your challenge is, how do you put in the red tape after you've let the genie out of the bottle? You can't put the genie back in the bottle. But it set this landscape where Ange they have to be careful about how they do it, but she can be creative with it. And I think that goes to your point where you were like, sometimes these difficult situations lend to innovative, creative solutions. Like you have to be restricted somehow for your brain to be like, okay, I'm restricted. I need some kind of creative solution here. Like the tiger's coming at me and I don't have any palm trees to climb up. What's my creative solution to stay alive? And I think that's like a human thing that we got to do when we're in a stressful situation, is you got to innovate and be gritty and persevere. So I
turn it on sometimes when you think, when everything in your being is like, I'm gonna die, and you're just like, this is not a good time to think clearly.
Right.
Like, and it's like the ironic. It's like the irony of life. It's poetic somehow, and somehow you escape the tiger or kill it on you somehow. Or
well, I like how you said poetic.
Jesus.
I think you're accessing some part of your brain that's not so forebrain. You're not so like thinking logically. You're thinking more like right brain. You're thinking with your artist brain, and you're being like, okay, I need a creative solution here, not your run-of-the-mill in-the-box solution. I need some out-of-the-box fucking, like, I'm pulling this tiger's tail.
Yeah.
I am going to grab this motherfucking tiger, and I'm going to pull its tail and scare the fuck out of it.
Those don't work. The logical steps in the real heat of the moment don't work. Yeah. Those are for your paperworks later. Like, that's great. But, like, in the moment, you really, even in business situations, like, how do I handle this situation? Like, for me, I think I'm the youngest. I've been a lucky artist. You know what I mean? Because like I can just go freestyle in a room, and then next time I go back to that venue, I'll get a gig, and then I'll figure out a way to turn profit from it. It's like I've been lucky taking that step by step, but like now blessed, yes, gratitude. And opportunities come, and I still bank on that magnetism to attract, where my life is going to go, just by like living and being. But like wanting to scale this, and like I'm so grateful for everything I have, but I do dream. I think how nice would it be if there's like maybe some couches there, and then I had a fridge for, it's just like I always dream, so I push myself. It's like, where do you guys start to incorporate self-compassion along the line of kind of like, I guess I'm always in a state of disappointment, to be perfectly honest. My vision keeps me in expectation, and like my gut turns, my heart hurts. It's couldn't happen fast enough.
No, I lived there for the last 5 years.
So like where do you give yourself a break? Because like I'm so bragging on myself in my head lately. It's intense, and like you guys, I know it's tough too, but like, what are you doing for self-compassion or empathy, or like where's the line of just almost not giving up? But
I just noticed that you guys are wearing the same shoes and we're wearing the same pants. I'm sorry. Autistic Joe right here.
So
I apologize for interrupting, but I was just like,
it.
holy shit, this is funny.
oh my god, that's
We love matching things.
Bless.
That was a great question.
Thank
So,
you. Yeah,
start.
self-compassion. I don't know.
After Joe's accident, like we hightailed it out to Hamilton, and I really struggled. I couldn't leave the house much. Couldn't even like going to the grocery store was like.
I'm not kidding. She has more PTSD from my attack than I have, and she wasn't even there.
Yeah.
But she had to deal with the aftermath.
Yeah, which was the scariest. And luckily, you just don't remember. But the I really just shit on myself so much because this number one, I wasn't there to protect him. Number two, I wasn't
She
big
is
strong.
much stronger than me. Let's be honest.
I wouldn't fuck with her.
Right?
I love you both, but I'd go at you before I go at her.
Right? That would be a smart choice.
So yeah, like I shit on myself. Big strong fighter girl can't leave the house to go to No Frills right now. So I just had to. I think it slowly kind of went away, and I slowly had to empower myself doing the things that I liked. Because with everything that happened, I couldn't afford to go to the gym. Who am I without going to Muay Thai? It was as much as my life was shitting on me, it was like as much as it possibly could for a while. So
your identity gets challenged when those things got taken away too, or like you
who am
think
I?
you're someone. Yeah,
it'd be like taking your mic away, right? It was just like, well, who are you without that? I'm not sure, right? And so I started to figure out other things that could possibly make me happy if cannabis didn't work out. So it was just about finding the Thai market, of course, but also learning Thai massage. So I was really like, I don't want to go get a job. I don't want to go. What am I gonna do? So
I'm a star. You're a star. You're a star.
Like, are we starting a dog walking company? Like, what are we doing? So it was a lot of like, again, following the path, figuring it out. But like it comes. And your love and everything is behind what you do, so it has to come, I think, right? And I didn't think it was going to for me, at all. So
at the same time, I think we were also, since we met, on a journey of self-discovery, and part of that was self-worth. I think that was big for us, is we were both learning self-worth, and for the last 2 years, that's been a big theme for us. Is like, how do we love ourselves? And I think that was part of kind of what you were asking about, the self-compassion
Yes.
part. And so I, just to go back to some of those other things that Ange just alluded to and I talked about before, was like sauna and cold plunge.
Yeah.
Like this past year, like I didn't do cold plunge until Ange, and when I did, it was only this past year, and it was her friend Sheila, who works in cannabis as well, wonderful human being, who really pushed me for it, and then the guy who owns the house, Rob, who talked me through my first session. But I love it in the cold plunge tank right now. I go for the coldest temperature, and I feel so comfortable. People are looking at me like, what the fuck is going on?
He comes out and his voice is like deeper. Like it slows him down. It's literally the only thing that slows
I always say
his
it's like the
Muppet energy
RPMs
down,
on a
right?
record, and you change it from what is it, like 90 to 45 or whatever it is. It's
Depends
like
if you rave or not.
that's literally, I can feel my blood flowing
And
slower.
It is the best drug for him. Like it's what really.
Okay, I need to stop being a little bitch and do my cold
You're gonna love
showers.
it. You're gonna love it.
Yeah. So your
Yeah.
cold shower
Cold
sits at-
showers
it
are a
sits at-
little different
It's at,
than.
well, that sits at 6 degrees, right? So your tap water comes out on the coldest. It's 6 degrees. You can put a basket of ice over your shower head if you wanted to like challenge yourself.
Yeah, she
But,
knows her shit now.
but
I'm
just-
telling you,
but
we've been
just
cold
start-
plunging and sauning.
Just start with the cold shower. For
I
sure.
find
and if you come to
plunging
Hamilton, then
easier
we'll
than
take
cold
you.
showering.
I do too. I think the cold shower is because it's moving.
It's
and it's
just
tickling at
constantly
you.
coming at you. I just like to get in there and just like breathe.
And that for me is what the purpose is it's your mind body thing. It's the vagus nerve, and it's you overcoming your fear, which I felt too. I was the same as you, and if not worse. I was like, no fucking way, I'm not doing it. I
Your
fucking
body
hit the wall.
panics.
I've
Yeah.
done it.
You
I've done
panic.
it a bunch.
Oh, you have?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did it with Humble, who trained with Wim Hof.
Oh, amazing.
And he talked me through in my ear for my first 2 minutes.
That's what I needed.
And
Yeah.
like that will help. And now I've gone to other ship and I've done it.
Oh, nice.
And like I've no ACL in the back of my left knee, so even I did the plunge myself like twice fully for the time, but then also I just went back and put my knee in. But like I'll do it once I'm there, but it's like getting to the gym for me.
Yes.
It's like taking the challenge to do it.
I never want to go.
I'm
in.
scared.
Yeah, we always say that. We never want to go. Like when they ask, like, do you want to come for sauna and cold plunge?
go
We're like,
to sauna.
yeah. And then it's a constant talking yourself into it. But I think
Yes.
this taps into like fight or flight is like you're overcoming your natural instinct to run and to like choose not to do something you know is going to be painful for you. But that comes back to like, I guess, kind of not altruism because it's not for somebody else, it's for yourself. But it's still this concept
But it's
of
probably the first time that we're like choosing to put ourselves in a lot of
That's it.
discomfort and then
Yes.
telling our bodies, hey, there's no fucking saber-toothed tiger right there.
Correct.
I'm completely safe. Like this is probably the first time in human history that we are like actually like focused there.
Yeah, and
Which
that we
will
have
be
a
very
tool like that.
interesting
Yeah.
how that's going to evolve us moving forward because that has to be like choosing kindness, choosing all of these harder things. It's just hard for people still. Like when you get cut off in traffic, it's just hard for someone to be like, oh, maybe they're having a really bad day and I'm going to send them love. Like it's way fucking
No,
easier to be like,
everybody's
fuck you.
And that's what I'm seeing.
great
People that
point.
just have like their trigger. Everyone's trigger is so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, the threshold for triggers is lower. I see that a lot now that I've been like really pursuing comedy.
I think that's the
It's-
post-pandemic world now, right?
It is, and it's really. I mean, we see it in the cannabis industry too. It's really shocking because the judgments happen so fast, and there is no room for error, and that's
Right.
where it feels like when we personally make a mistake. It's like, well, everyone else would beat me. Like I should beat myself up because there is no room for error, and it's like, guys, we need to just like pull back a little bit. Like we have to have room for error. We're learning. We're still learning.
oh my God.
It's so embarrassing to fail though.
Yeah,
like
it
that's
is.
what I think is deep rooted in me. Like I have this ego that like
But that's a limiting belief.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I
Yes.
thought too.
it keeps
right?
it keeps us under that.
Like I got so injured in Muay Thai, I'm like, I can't be a fighter anymore. And then
Bless
I'm
you.
like, and I thought my world was over then, right? And then I made up this, and
Yeah,
then I
so-
thought I failed again. I'm like, oh my god, what am I ever gonna do now? You know, so it just continues.
It just
Keep
continues.
moving.
I didn't know. This is the same thing in therapy. Like I thought I was going to therapy to like fix my problems.
Oh
No.
no, you ripped off the Band-Aid and now you're just the scab exposed.
And it's not even, but you never really fix anything. You just learn tools to like better handle it next time.
And have a
around.
better understanding who you are. There's so many people out there who have no idea who they are, or the fact that they're neurodivergent or not, or whatever, right?
Totally.
And everyone's like living in this masked or unmasked state, right?
Yeah.
So.
I think it also goes back to this concept of grit and perseverance, and especially in tough economic times, which we're all have been living through, and probably a little bit more to come, unfortunately. But I think, I always imagine, because I used to live in California, the concept or analogy of the wave and being a surfer. And do you let waves hit you and smack you and push you back and kind of affect you where it gets you off your game and you stumble and you start to falter and get negative? Or do you just go with the waves? And I think that your life's, like a big life's challenge is, how do I just, no matter how big the wave or how small the wave, I just let them roll over my shoulders and I just go with the wave. And this was something I actually learned in autism training when I was going through some really intense autism therapist training. And it was to not create this pushback dynamic between me and my clients, my kiddos. And instead to just constantly have like, okay, if this kid isn't doing what I want to do and he wants to go play ball, I'm not going to try and stop him and give him no, you can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, without some yes, you can do this. So I think like I've really tried to ingrain this concept of just going with the wave, even if
Yes,
it's not
and.
something that I planned.
You're improving that shit.
Yes, and we had this conversation the last time I was here. I am a yes and dude. Like,
Yeah.
I will say yes to whatever it is. I don't know if I'd be good at improv. You guys are the killers when it comes to the improv.
Literally, that's all you have to do to make improv good.
Just
Like
play.
Just say yes and build upon.
It's funny you say that because my autism director, who I was just talking about, who trained me to do that, was all about improv.
Yeah.
He said it would improve my autism game. And there's actually a famous clown in France who does autism therapy, who has a clinic there, and he used clowning, which is very yes and improv-y.
Totally. I think clowning's misunderstood by so many.
Definitely by me. I hate fucking clowns, but I appreciate it. Like Patch Adams was a great fucking movie, let's be real. And this guy in France is killing it with his clown therapy because it works. You're appealing to people in a way that's non-confrontational. You're not creating this educational opportunity where there's like what we all experience in school, which is like, fuck no, I don't want to do my homework, or like, fuck no, I'm not going up to the chalkboard. I'm resisting this learning opportunity.
Resistance is a bitch.
That's the pain point. I literally felt that. I was having an episode when he was talking me through it. She's like, what are you resisting right now? Like, what can't you what can't you allow? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it's just like, it's so much deeper than the surface level problem too, because your triggers are so much deeper. So it's like, I wish I had a Joe. I wish I knew I was neurodivergent before. So it's like all this like, like literally my body, I start like swishing around or like, like self-abuse and just like, I cannot deal with this. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest wall, and I guess I gotta die. I guess I can't do it. Like, it's done. Like, it's like my body starts like sloshing. I'm like, no. And that's really intense. But I notice when the episode ends and my thoughts become to get a little more clear, is like all the pain was just coming from me resisting, and then you realize what resisting is. It's actually focusing on the thing that's bringing you discomfort more. So all this war against and all this fear mongering in the news, it's like you're not changing it by focusing on it more.
Right.
You want to change homelessness, stop calling them homelessness. And I don't mean to change to unhoused. It's like literally start moving through action in a new space, like Abraham Hicks says. But it's so hard because of that fucking our central nervous system is like a tree in your body, and everything, all the energy shooting through that is telling you like, fight this thing because it's bad for you. And even if it's just the thought of you made a mistake, even if it's in your own head, it's like it is that point of resistance that brings you in the most pain. Whereas even if you can just shift over here to something small, at least that you're grateful for, I think the easiest one is like, fuck, I can walk.
I don't
That's
think
pretty sick.
This is where you always get. I don't think shifting from like having a panic attack to like I'm grateful for my legs is possible ever. I think that's too big of a jump emotionally. I think like you're having a panic attack. I think the next thing is just like physical stability. Yeah. Inhale, exhale,
physiological
find your
regulation.
Breath. Yeah, and then from there you're like, okay, I'm physically safe now, because so often
there's
you're
no tiger.
not. Yeah, there's no tiger. And then you're like, okay, maybe I will, feed myself or drink some water
or
like
breathe.
It's really
The breathing is everything.
Such incremental steps that you need to take to climb the emotional scale, especially if you're like on an extreme end of it. Like, I really don't believe in forcing yourself to be like, I am so grateful for my life.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Because you could say it in a way that's not authentic or sincere, or
if you don't feel it,
like
it's
out
bullshit.
of desperation.
Yeah.
Like it's like I am so grateful for something, but
I am,
still
but I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Confirmed Catholic.
Yes.
Just say
for
the prayer.
sure.
Just say the prayer.
And you'll feel better, and all your problems will go away, and you won't go to hell.
Just let your fear live, I think, sometimes.
I am so about that. You have to embrace the darkness.
But
Yeah.
I am a big, strong man who's not scared of anything, guys.
Right. Yeah, but that's the like.
And I'm the leader, and I have to hold the vision. And if I make a mistake, I failed everyone.
Nobody wants to fuck up, and nobody wants to, embarrass themselves or anything. But I honestly think humility is a beautiful human behavior. When I see a human take it on the chin, I'm just like, fuck yes. That means you're willing to be, the word I like to use is accountable. And I've worked with people I've worked.
Yes.
Thank you.
I've worked with people over years, and I've seen the lack of accountability in cannabis, like we've spoken
Yes.
about a little bit here. And I
true.
honestly think that accountability and humility are some absolutely gorgeous human behaviors. I actually fall in love with people who are comfortable and looking forward to apologize, or looking forward to somehow. You brought something up that made me think of this concept of reframing. So like you talked about this description that you had of something which was negative, but then you reframe it into some less negative thing. It might not be a super positive thing, but it was reframed. And so I think maybe that middle step between panic attack to gratitude would be like, how can I reframe what I was just experiencing in
Yeah,
a way
I don't
that's
have to believe it. Like my beliefs that got me to that place of panic in the first place, like I can challenge those right now.
Right.
They don't have to be true, even though it's very real feeling inside my body.
and a cold plunge would help with that. I'm just
Yes,
saying that
totally.
a sauna and a cold plunge
Dude,
could possibly help you get
totally.
into that change of mode.
So that discipline is like reminds me of like that when you're working with your kiddos, they'll respond to that yes and because there's form in that. Like in the universe and the right brain and the creativity, when there's no like strictly structure, the only thing I can trust is my band is going to meet me on 4 right there, but I can't point that out on paper.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like when I say yes and, or when I like choose to use a higher level of thinking, like I'm going to get in a cold shower right now. It's like that's like a sick like alley-oop into like a structure that isn't a structure, and it alleviates you from, I think that's all like reptilian brain.
That's funny you say that. I was just going to say something like I had to be careful because you don't want to go with the association of training, being a therapist to autism kids to training animals, but you
Right.
gave me a little bit of a gulf there to work with. So, working with dogs, working with my dog, Max, our dog Max, reminds me that, he's got all this energy, and I can't, and we can't describe all this energy that's going on in us that makes us restless, or makes us, like, we call it ADHD or whatever you want to call it, but it's like this restless gotta do something energy that I think all of us have, and a lot of our friends in the community have, is that we have this, I'll even say, dysregulated endocannabinoid system that can't find homeostasis so easily, and so we're cagey, and we want to, what can I do to distract my idle hands and my overactive brain, and how do I use this creativity in my head?
Add in unlimited weed,
Yeah, right. So
and
that-
you just have some psychosis.
So it's like, how do you kind of regulate that? And I see with my dog that what it is, to your point, is like structure. Like, I need to give this dog a command. This dog doesn't know what it wants, what I want from it. So if I don't give the dog a sit command, or a down command, or a paw command, or a let's play fetch command, and
Let's
I don't
do
work
something.
that energy out proactively, he's going to be walking around looking at us, whining like a
Being annoying.
being annoying.
I don't like to use that word for animals, but like for just to clarify.
I
they
so
get
agree with you.
annoying.
I hear Ange's voice in my head. You typed it to me, but when you said it, I neurologically put it in a voice, and literally I use it every day when I'm starting to take that big drought. You live in my mind. You said, "Did you lift something heavy today?"
Right.
And
Right.
like it's like she looked right past my like bullshit complaining. I think we were having a conversation, and she's like, "Yeah, but like, did you?" She doesn't give a fuck if I went to the gym, if there were weights even. Just, did you pick up something heavy today?
If not, I ask people, I'm like, did you move your body today?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love any
'Cause
movement.
like when I wasn't training, like
was just gonna say.
I'm not okay.
That's
Yeah.
lived experience right there.
I'm
That's
not
Ange. Yeah,
okay.
when she's not training, that's a cagey
and it's
Ange.
not about like learning to punch people in the face or anything like that. It's literally like
Squirrel energy.
squirrel energy that I have to get out, or else I'll pick a fight with Joe. I'll yell at like
That was really good humility there, honey.
No,
I have
totally.
to get it out. I
yeah.
have to, yeah.
I find I'm cycling. I'm still forcing myself to cycle everywhere right now, and you
That's
guys
great.
know it's pretty cold. But it's just like so much better for my mental health.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Do you have those big gloves?
I
that
have
people
like,
wear?
yeah, I have no, not those
Not the big
heated
ones?
ones.
Oh,
no,
okay.
but I do have like good winter gloves.
Okay, now I know what to get you for your birthday.
I get dressed up.
those are
I don't-
actually, that's
yeah,
pretty
I don't,
serious.
I don't fuck around.
That's serious glove game right there.
This is last season, honestly. I taped them up just a couple days ago because there's down in them, so they started to, or like whatever goose
Oh, yeah,
feather or
but these-
something like
Fancy.
that.
Your hands must not get cold when you bike, then.
It's pretty good.
are
It's
good. I guess we're
I'm
not
cold
talking-
all the time, but
Yeah, me too.
no, it's pretty good. And I and as I continue to cycle, because I don't want to pay for Ubers everywhere, and I don't know, the streetcar sometimes is just... Ugh.
It's just wild. It's like a holding cell.
It's dangerous. It's legitimately
It's dangerous.
dangerous.
Yeah, like
when
I
people are
honestly
getting
think
stabbed.
cycling
Like every
is
day.
like the safest way too. Like I'm on a bike, I can bike away from someone who's like running after. I really think cycling in Toronto is I'm pro cycle, and I love our cycling lanes. I know so many
It's
people
true.
don't use them, but I love them. And I noticed that my mental health is better. So then I'm like, okay, even though I don't want to cycle at 6 a.m. in the morning, like I know that it's going to make me feel better because I've done it enough now and I've seen the result of that. So I think you just have to get past that hump of like, you do show yourself these results and they feel better in your body. So, but just like until you get those results, it can be a little like, I don't wanna.
I like that you brought that up. But remember, like, we just went through New Year's Eve, and everybody goes back and forth on New Year's resolutions. But at that time, I saw this guy on Instagram talking about, like, it had nothing to do with New Year's, but it was like every year I do something new that's a positive health behavior, and after 10 years, you've added 10 new positive health behaviors. So I would say, like, if you choose that cycling is your thing for 2025 or whatever it is, he was even going to, like, every 6 months I do a thing, every 3 months, every 1 month.
That's cool.
Changing
Switch
of
it
my
up.
diet, changing
Yeah.
of my social, like, I'll join a new social group. And he just, like, it might be a bit too regimented and autistic, but like, you're really doing
I'm sure a lot of
But
people would love that type of structure.
I think so. And I think that that's what it really comes down to is, like, instead of choosing these unhealthy behaviors statistically, like, we know that drinking alcohol is not good for you. Not that this is alcohol, it's kombucha.
It has 0.03%, I think.
It does.
Fermentation.
Ooh, for me, that's actually after this whiskey break. But, like, that these substances are harmful to your health to some degree. Yes, they're beneficial to your health, but they have negative health outcomes as well. So how do we continue to choose healthier behaviors like your cycling or sauna and cold plunge or
Even
Meditation.
Getting up in the morning. Like,
making your bed?
Taking a shower. Yeah, making your bed is
Folding your
is a
clothes.
good one.
And taking a shower and eating breakfast.
Yeah.
Like, when I was grinding like 50, 60 hours a week, which I don't really do anymore, I would skip breakfast. And that's, you always hear it's the most important meal, but it's the easiest one to fucking skip because it's like, I got to rush.
I
gotta
never
go get
eat
somewhere.
breakfast.
And you're on coffee.
You never have breakfast?
I don't eat till usually 2.
That was me.
I
And,
call it the ab keeper.
and now Ange is making these eggs and toast breakfasts with avocado, which are small.
Eggs and toast and avocado. I love it. It's my favorite
So you
meal
should
in
come
the
to Hamilton a
world.
little bit.
I have 2 avocados ripening out. I can't find ripe avocados in the
I buy
city.
guacamole. I just buy guacamole.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, we've learned that throwing away a few avocados in the past couple
Ruin
months.
them. I just buy them to ruin them.
But that,
Yeah.
that breakfast really does fuel me, until 2 o'clock. So I'm not eating lunch at lunch. I'm actually working a little bit later. I actually get more done because I've had that breakfast.
Gotta fuel that brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
More
really
than
got to
just
feel the
coffee.
brain.
So you guys both get up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm up at 8. I'm
That's
at 8
good.
a.m.
That's
See,
a nice. I would like that.
It's
Winnie is
just
so
natural.
good. She works at a yoga studio
I'm
as
not
well.
so good. I would.
But like she constantly reminds me, it's sometimes the bad start of my day where I'm like, I'm such a piece of shit. I just slept until noon, and Winnie has already went and worked and taught 2 classes,
Well,
and
why does time matter for you?
it shouldn't.
Right.
So because I'm an
He
artist,
also
I'm
he
up-
also
have some bone
stayed up
broth.
till
But
5.
But you're up late. You're doing music and you're
Right.
doing
Well,
stuff.
I made clips for this, like, so it's like I am working, but even so, I don't give myself that understanding or break. It's
Yeah,
just like
that's
you
good
need
to
to
do.
be up at
I do
sunrise.
though think there's something special about the morning
There is, honestly.
in terms of productivity and
get a
stuff.
lot
Like,
done.
I
Thailand,
totally
I'm
agree.
6 a.m.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, it's just
LA, 7 a.m. No
Yeah.
problem.
And it
Exactly.
feels like stealing time. Like, I swear
It's
to
the
God,
sign.
when I get
So
up early
gray,
and I get
cold,
shit
and-
done, I'll be like, my emails are done by 9 o'clock.
It's so
Everybody's
nice.
just starting their day, but I got all my fucking
Yeah.
emails done, or I got
I
my.
agree.
yeah, I
That
really
early
I
morning
do
time.
love mornings. I want to know if you guys could have half an hour to sesh with anyone dead or alive in the history of humanity. And you didn't, and you were still seshing, obviously, smoking a joint or doing a dab. Who would you choose? You can't say each other, you fucks.
Do you mean alive or dead, you said?
Dead or alive, yeah,
Dead or
just like
alive.
any human.
probably like Hunter S. Thompson
Hey.
or
Is this not a reasonable place to park?
right, like Jimi Hendrix or,
Ooh, that's a good one.
Joe Rogan's always been on the list of somebody to spend some time with.
Oh, I love that.
I could totally see you
Look,
on the Rogan
a
podcast.
woman who likes Joe Rogan, everybody.
I'm a
Thank
rare
God.
breed.
It exists.
I'm a
Thank
rare
God.
breed.
No, truth.
I hear
God.
David Attenborough's voice, like,
You know.
a rare
Yeah,
species.
yeah.
Well, he was the first one. He was the first one who started. I started listening to him when he was talking about sensory deprivation tanks and floating. And,
Yeah.
And then we started talking about edibles and sensory deprivation tanks and floating, and then I became hooked, and and that's when Flow Toronto opened, and when they started listening to him, and it was just this whole kind of like start of wellness, right? For me.
He had psychologists on early. Like, he got me like really thinking into when he had Jordan Peterson on too. Like, he has, and along the lines of some provocative guests as well. Like, literally, I get a kick out of some Italian comedian is being visited by the CIA because of a friend he had on his little podcast. And it's like, oh, that's power.
Yeah.
That's power in being yourself.
Oh, Mike Tyson would be on my list too.
Oh, yeah, that's a great
He'd love you
one.
for sure. Yeah.
We'd be buddies for sure.
You think you're gonna do the toad and have a conversation? Because
I would love
fuck
to
me,
have
I'm
a conversation with Mike Tyson. Oh, my God.
He trumps the gangsters that was on his show Hotboxing. He's just like little Boosie goes, right?
He's
like,
so
I'm a gangster.
honest.
He's like, no, you're a little boy. I'm a little scared bitch too. And he's just like, he pulls himself down with everyone else and just grounds it to like an infinite
A
level.
lot of people hate on him, and I'm like, I understand he went to jail for what he went to jail for, but like, man, I feel like the man has learned his lesson, and he served
He's
his
not
time,
the
and-
same person.
No, he's not. We just saw a wonderful documentary about him and his coach and kind of the history there, and it was
just a video. Yeah.
Was it just a video?
Yeah.
Okay. It was still really, really great to just learn a little bit more about what made him kind of that way.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah, you don't know where he
it's so
came from.
wild that we just ignore the fact that people have had a complete lifetime of experiences
Yeah, right.
that got to them to this point, and we don't know what their knowledge or awareness is around all of their pain.
And it's
You
also
know?
like, wow, a tiger acting like a tiger. Wow.
And we're also judging
Shocking.
we're also judging them based on today's standards, which are different standards than the standards of 20, 30,
Totally.
40 years ago. And so, we have to be careful that we don't judge people based on today's
Like, we
standards.
just started microwaving in like the late 80s or some shit. Like,
Yeah.
we're not that smart yet.
No, we're not. I always say that too about humans. There's a couple people that I would love to smoke with. Can I say two that are dead?
Yeah.
Please.
And then I've got a thought for the alive one. But the two that are dead would be Frenchie Cannoli, who passed away a couple years ago, legend in the hash world. It'd be great to see him again and smoke with him again. And I'd actually love to smoke with George Washington. I think that would be a dope experience. Would be, I'm sorry, but like I teach my students about him as a hemp farmer and like, hemp in his pipe and all the
God, I would love that for you.
first U.S. flags, Declaration of Independence, Navy ship sails and ropes, all made out of hemp and cannabis. It was legislated by the U.S. government that you had to
You
grow
had
hemp.
to grow it.
I would love to chat with this guy and get the real on it. And I guess
That would be a thrilling conversation.
right? It would be so cool. Carl Sagan would be another cool
Yes.
guy to smoke with, I think.
This is John Lomberg's art that Carl Sagan
I
used.
had a feeling, yeah. So like I love quantum physics. I think that stuff is awesome. Neil deGrasse Tyson took over for him for Cosmos, the series that Carl Sagan kind of created and was a great guy about, and he was a cannabis advocate back in the day. Last dead guy, and then that's it for dead people. Jim fucking Henson. The creator of the Muppets, Fraggle Rock, Sesame Street. I think he would be such a human. And if you haven't watched the Jim Henson, we've been rewatching a lot of Muppet stuff lately, and it's fucking amazing. There's new Muppet stuff that's great. But his funeral on YouTube it's a tearjerker, but it's a fucking amazing thing to watch. Is the Jim Henson funeral on YouTube?
Okay.
He just the community that he built. I think he'd be a great and another cannabis advocate, right? I think that these people would be great to consume with. And then people for Alive, I would love to get together the community of legacy people who have had a really rough time in the
Yeah.
legal industry and have a sesh. I think that would be a really nice sesh. Would be people like Ange and I and the gritty fuckers who have carved a
We
path
can
in the legal.
make that
and
happen.
I mean, that's,
we need to make that happen.
Sounds like
we can do that here.
Yeah, it sounds like a master sesh
Right?
and a crazy piece
Let's
of content.
just have pillows on the ground.
Moroccan style.
Yeah.
I love that.
Get down.
I think there might not be enough space in this room. However,
No,
I think
yeah.
that's
no,
the sad
yeah,
thing. Is like
yeah.
it's not that small of a community.
Not everyone will be able to make it, Joe.
I know. Yeah.
Listen, don't dream with those logistics. That's the limiting beliefs of the logistical. Let them dream.
How can we support you?
I think you guys already do.
How can they support you?
We will. Also, like, people, how can they, like, get on your wave to, like, you know, at least contribute to your brand? I guess a follow is the thing, but, like, where's your community brewing, or how do you best feel people can check you out, kind of thing, I guess?
I think the best place to kind of check me out, obviously, is Instagram, so at Blessed Edibles, or at Angelina.Blessed. I think the way that you can support is everyone keeps on sharing kind of what we're doing and talking authentically about it, and I think that's the coolest thing. And then I think the new kind of legion of support is going to come from all of the athletes and the amount of people from around the world that I'm going to meet in Thailand that are all there with the same kind of purpose and love, and understanding that, like, Muay Thai and martial arts has changed a lot, so it's not just always about, you know, the getting punched in the face, as it is more about people are understanding and talking about recovery and the wellness behind what we do, which is really cool and a kind of a different direction. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, so it's been cool because people, everyone seems to be traveling to Thailand this year, so it's cool to see a lot of, you know, Etta Luz, who I did a presentation with in BC at one time, where we made weed smoothies. You know, we juiced the greens of cannabis, and so she was like high times winner, Cannabis Cup winner of edibles, and so, like, she's on her way, and she's just like, I'm gonna get your bars as soon as I get there.
Aww.
So it's cool that, one, people have been able to taste them before I have, but, you know, people from around the world are supporting, so that's just awesome, right? So
I feel like I'm going to take this clip, and then when you're doing your thing, doing that, what you just said, and that's happening, I'm going to make a clip
There we go.
out of you saying it, and then the manifestation of it.
I love that. Yeah, a lot of setting of positive intention here. This is great. The same is for me about getting in touch with me. I'm on social media, so I'm Joe.Love, Joe.Love on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, Joe Goldfarb. How can you guys support me? I mean, like Angie said, you guys always support us, and we love the support from the community. When I read the comments after your shows, I mean, it's all love, which is great. I'm going to double down on the Hash Love brand, and I'm going to probably come out with some Hash Love branded stuff.
Fuck yeah.
So that's going to probably roll out in 2025. People who watch your show, you know, I do have my own QA agency. So if any company, if you work in the legal industry and you know a company that's looking for a QA who's not going to rat on you and can trust your ass, you know, I'm in business and I'm available. With
At least have a conversation.
We can have a conversation,
Yeah.
but I'm that kind of QA, and I'm, you know, going to make it work, and got a lot of good references and reputation in the industry with doing that kind of work. And then also I'm doing a lot of international brokering, so selling cannabis from Canada into Germany, Portugal.
Cool.
And so, yeah, I'm very interested in expanding on that. So if any of your viewers have any connections to opportunities for selling internationally, that's a big thing for me this year. And then obviously, you know, we make a lot of hash. So, you know, we
got some.
And we like share. I was just going to say, we love sharing our hash with people. So, yeah.
It's very nice.
So this is a pipe that was actually made by Drew Masterglass, same guy that Hashco did the hash kettle with. And this is a hash pipe. This is only for smoking hash. You actually heat the end of that honeycomb looking thing with a torch, and then you dab it into the bowl, and the hash evaporates.
Thank you, Vanna.
So yeah, that was very good. So yeah, just keep supporting the hash community, the traditional and the new neo hash community. That's a big thing of what we do. We've ramped up the hash lab, and we've got a whole bunch of different hash products that we're going to enjoy with you guys. You know, we've enjoyed before the show and a little bit after the show as well.
Yeah, I took a big old dab.
Thank you. I'm glad that you're enjoying it.
Thank you. It's really delicious and lovely.
And then finally, I guess the last thing is I do have this group called Hash Fest. We have an event called the Hash Fest. So I would encourage people to keep their eyes and ears open for events related to hash that, we work on. And then
Good people involved with you as well.
right, very good people like Boyd Bam from Carmel, great hash maker, Joe Fake Hash Busta, and then all of the vendors there like the Solventless team. I brought some of their dabs today. Their triple infused stuff is just incredible.
Oh yeah, we still got to try one of those.
Right?
Fake Hash Busta provides us with some raffle gifts for our Paradox live show.
Yes.
And I put them together with the Stewart Farm bath bombs.
Oh,
and I make
wow.
them a blunt and a bath.
That's amazing.
I love that.
Could you
That's a
imagine
great pairing.
A raffle
Yeah.
prize that has like 2 of those Canagars.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, the Canagars are great. That's actually a great pairing of legacy and legal. I love that because it's
That's
like
been-
so legacy and so legal.
Right?
Wellness product like bath bomb. Like that is a great.
That you see what's up. You see
I
what
love
I'm
Stewart
doing.
Farms.
I
I
love
know,
Stuart.
they're
We love
great.
Tanner.
Tanner.
Love Tanner.
A
Did
gem.
you see when he was over? He had your blood shirt on.
Yeah, he always does
Practice
that.
rounds.
He's on his second now. He
So
loves it so
cute.
much. He's like,
Yeah.
I need another one of those.
He is
Tanner and his eyelashes.
beautiful eye Tanner.
He's just a beautiful human across the board. All of Tanner, inside and out.
Yeah, I love that guy. He knows about the heart of it too, and I think that's special.
The last thing I'd say to support us is as innovative as Tanner is, Ange and I are going to keep doing creative projects. And we've joked about starting a clothing line because, our in-house humor
100% you
are
should.
just ridiculous. And so we've got some taglines. And it's like,
Just dirty shit, though.
But that's the culture. You
Chocolate
don't know
and hash, like that should be on a shirt.
Or I'll stick my hash.
right?
Yeah.
Like, there's,
Have a dirty hand movement to it. Something
Yeah.
but we're going to keep doing creative stuff. So just keep your eyes and ears open for us because we're not going anywhere.
Well, thank you for being pioneers in both the legacy and the legal industry, and we just appreciate you guys so much.
We
and
love and appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it truly, this space wouldn't be the same without you guys, and yeah, so grateful for you.
Thank you. We always love sharing time and space with you guys and all of your community. It's such a great, loving community, and we're looking forward to seeing what you guys are up to in 2025. As you
Well,
guys
we're
evolve what
obviously
you're
gonna
doing.
Thank you, bro.
also come to Thailand now.
Yo,
Yes.
you said you can rent a place for what?
Yeah.
Your,
just a
your
couple-
monthly rent would be $500, and you'd get
At the most.
a house.
You get a crazy.
Like I need
With
to
a pool?
Go. I need to go. I
I'm
need to
pretty
go-
sure that's where we should live.
Yeah,
A lot of people are doing that.
I'm gonna get myself a
Yeah,
retirement
figure it
visa
out.
in the next couple of years and just go.
I think
Nice.
so.
I just think.
I think so.
Just like fruit vendors alone, like for the fruit and for the salt water and for the warmth and for the missing Canadian
The warmth.
winters and,
There,
Warmth,
there's
warmth, warmth.
there is
and the healthcare
fruit vendors like, there's
the
a,
best of the best of.
and that's
cheap.
health. That's the
You
medicine.
walk out of any 7-Eleven, there's a woman or a man there cutting up beautiful for like.
So
$1.
LA, you know about
perfect.
spicy fruit? In spicy fruit, like they have like these like street carts. They're basically Mexican. They're,
Yeah.
they're
Oh,
always,
you mean with the spicy stuff on
yeah,
it?
tahine
On the frozen fruit.
On no, I don't think it's frozen.
fresh.
It's
Oh, is
fresh.
it
It's
fresh?
like
Thais have like a spice that they put on it too if you want it.
Yeah.
Delicious.
And they chop like the watermelon. They'll even put cucumber, pineapple,
And
and,
they
then they
put
put
the
it all in
spicy
one
stuff.
cup, and then they.
It's like
I
a
don't
spicy
know
sugar.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big Mexican thing. When I was in Tijuana,
Yeah.
don't ask me why. When I was in Tijuana, the street vendors would also have the frozen versions of that, and they would also put the orange
Because
spice
frozen
on it.
fruit is delicious.
Because it's so hot in
also.
Tijuana.
It's the contrast. It's you're getting this cold thing with this hot thing, or this sweet thing
Ice
with this
and
spicy
spice.
thing. It is. There's a great fucking. It's a good combination sometimes.
Yeah.
That Mexican palate, I noticed when I went into 7-Eleven in Mexico, they were like how we have those fruit chewy bars. It was like that, but it was coated in like
spicy
tahine, like
stuff.
spice. And I'm like, very sweet and very spicy. That's like kind of the Mexican palate at its core.
Yeah.
Same with Thailand.
It's super interesting, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
love sweet
But
and
what is the plane ride over there?
Oh,
It's
God.
like 16 hours to Hong Kong and then another 4 or 5 hours to Bangkok.
That'll stop you
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And what's the
Especially
price tag
if it's
on
a
that
short trip.
flight?
Like under 2,000.
It's not worth
Yeah.
going for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, exactly. That's what I was
And
gonna
it's
say.
24 hours. It's 12 hours difference, right? So like right now it's I don't know like two.
So it's
two in the morning
it's
there.
a day and rent-ish.
Yeah.
like it is an
But, like,
investment, so
food
it's
will
not
be
a weekend.
$1 a day, like it's or a couple dollars a day.
So
like,
it balances out, and the more time you give yourself there, the more that investment
yeah, because
balances out.
you're
Now we have to
jet
have a
lagged
weed
for,
budget,
like, 2
though.
weeks, right?
And
You'll
the
have to,
weed-
and a big weed.
Yeah,
budget.
big
The weed
weed
is
budget.
priced the same. So here's
more
the
expensive.
opportunity in Thailand is what Angie's doing is her input costs or her COGS, cost of goods sold, is lower because the cost of labor, the cost of having a facility, the
Yes.
cost of the materials is lower. But the products, to your point, are sold at the same that we have here.
So there's a nice margin.
There's
then
a
finally.
nice margin, so that's what makes it possible for people like Ange and
Finally.
Clint Young, for
That's
example,
how it
who has
should be.
Charlie's.
You can be a drug
That's
dealer
how I
again.
want it to be. I
It's-
want it to be like that
make,
for
make
people.
a little cash, motherfucker. Like
Yeah.
you deserve it. Just like a farmer growing his carrots or a chef cooking his
Totally.
dishes. Like you're whipping something, you're branding something, you're doing all the loops and holes to get through it. It's like, damn, you should definitely come up with a profit. It's crazy.
So come on, government, get rid of some of the taxes.
Yeah, like,
Let's
come
let
on,
operators
government.
make some money here, please.
You got a big bone to pick with taxes in general, considering how they started from a war. First of
Yeah.
all, you started the thing coming from a time period that perpetuated war. Like, give us these and then once the war was over, you didn't shrink it and take it back. You increased it.
But wasn't that
It's a
for
way
the-
to control people.
But wasn't that also great for who was it, which president? And it was a huge restructuring of America.
Right.
Like he had to recreate America and build the highway system.
Right.
Like they restructured the entire of the country, and they needed to fund that somehow.
Yeah, so that's true.
Like I hear you, but they had to raise the money from somewhere because
But
they
the
were
capital
poor from
gain
the war.
stuff from here.
Oh, yeah, no,
like
that's-
insane. Like my auntie who work to have her property or whatever, and then it's like if they're gonna sell that and pull out, it's like 70%. It's
Yes,
like no, that's criminal.
That has happened to
Anyway.
somebody I know very closely, and they lost a lot of money on that.
So it just makes you want to go dirty.
It makes you want to move to Thailand.
It makes you want to never open up another piece of mail
And just take cash payments and
and live off grid. I mean, I love about the fruit markets here on Bloor,
cash.
cash.
Listen, a lot of people have moved from legal back to legacy because they got fucked over in legal and they didn't get paid properly. And they go back to where not only you make money, cash money, but the relationships. I had this conversation with somebody in the industry that we all know. I just won't name drop them, but my relationships in legacy were always better in terms of the trust, the loyalty, the rapport that we had
Yes.
than in legal.
That's
There's a
what's-
lot more deception, and there's a lot more smoke and mirrors and dishonesty and distrust and disloyalty in legal than I ever experienced in legacy.
It's almost part of the fiber of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
That kind of smoke and mirrors or that projected self as opposed to that grounded self. Where in legacy, you guys had to be there because you wanted to be there. So you're going to get someone's back, and if something went awry, like Ange said, I'm going to pull up.
Some get stomped.
I'm pull up, and we're going to have this conversation face to face, or we're going to take our stuff back.
Well, that's why trust and loyalty were a necessity. If you were going to avoid a stomping, because nobody also wants to be the stompee. Like, it doesn't feel good.
Or the stomper.
That's what I'm saying.
Really?
The stompee or the stomper. Like, you don't want to be either. And
Heavy
so
hand's
I
hard
think,
to hold.
So you're trying to maintain a good relationship with these people out of necessity. And some of us didn't choose to be drug dealers. We fell into it out of necessity.
Yes.
And then now you're operating in this community that has this association with violence and has this association with crime, like bigger crime and shit like that. So I think that it was born out of necessity, whereas to your point, in bureaucratic legal system, there's no impetus
Right.
for you to have to be loyal, trusting, blah, blah, blah. There are so many business people who have done crafty, creative solutions in cannabis that are untoward, that are just like, they have ruined the industry in large part.
They didn't stick to the G code because they didn't have to.
They didn't learn it. They didn't come from that world,
So,
a lot of those people. So they don't know.
That's where we had this discussion with a retailer. He was pulling packs out his trunk. So like this guy specifically who does own a retail store did go through that a little bit, but then he got out of it. But like we had that conversation of like, if someone didn't go through that and they're just in cannabis just for the business of it, do they deserve to be there?
Yes.
So
You say no. I say yes because I say everybody has a seat at the table.
that's what he said. He said the function is if you're a business person and you want to contribute your talents, then you can just do that. But
But don't push me
But
out.
they're not there. But they're not there for their talents. They're there to make money.
and I'm with you on that. So it's like definitely a two-sided thing. I'm like, no, I'm here to kind of. I mean, I'm biased. I do content. I do media. I'm like weed adjacent. Like it's like I don't have the pressure of having to sell a SKU. So it's like, like we're at an interesting point. But like I'm like, yo, I'm here to like kind of boost the culture and through the creative. So it's like I don't know. I don't even really have legs to speak on the business other than observing through.
You don't
like
have
friends
skin
like
in
you.
the game, so to speak.
Exactly.
In terms of that.
But I think if I was in that game, I would be so much more comfortable working and would basically build my operation exclusively with y'all, like people who know that.
But the problem is the people with the money want to see you wearing a suit and loafers and speaking like a goof and, lying about your contacts for money and business. That's industry. Unfortunately, look at all business. And we decided to legalize this thing. Be careful what you wish for. Look at all business. It's all deception. It's all smoke and mirrors and strip clubs. It's all built on that super white rich dude culture, male centric kind of business culture. And all those people came into cannabis and they changed the face of cannabis from the community that it was into, like Ange said, an industry. And now we're getting to selling breakfast cereal. Like we are really going CPG very fast, and those same people are coming in and treating it the same way.
That tariff on the mainstream. And you look at the events, I call them big box events now.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And like no real shade to anyone because I think it is the natural evolution of it, but you see it go from very much missing the point of why gathering with cannabis was important in the first place. I feel like those green markets, so many of us were in a weird way self-identified broken or hurt or sick.
And we congregated there.
We got together and we're like, oh, you're a little fucked up too, but you're doing your thing, sick. And like there was that.
That's why we need lounges still.
And and I would never dream of, and I'm not shitting on alcohol, like do your thing, but like I would never dream of drinking during that process. It felt like what we felt was sacred or like very vulnerable almost, like to get high together and feel with our hearts. And then when I see the big box events, they have an alcohol bar and I'm there like someone wants to chat from the community and I'm having a heartfelt conversation and then homie's like stumbling over like a bar. It's like I specifically left that. I specifically came to weed to avoid that behavior, and now this is all just an industrial gangbang. And it's like, get your money, guys. Like, do your thing, but like, anything I'm gonna be a part of, that's the only equity I can control. Is like it's gonna have that momentum of the heart. But then there's also the balance of when you go too far legacy, there's not that structure. We've had conversations about where I'm trying to give weed that face and that commonplace of Mary at the grocery store won't look at me as a dirtbag as I smoke a joint.
Same in the boardroom, though. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like if you act too legacy in cannabis, they will in front of you give you all the praises. And, they're gonna stroke your ego and make you feel great. Hey, Ralphie. But then behind your back, like they're not gonna support you to get a seat at the boardroom.
They're not gonna
table.
open the door for you.
They're not gonna. If you dress like how I'm dressing right now and showing my tattoos and how you're dressing right now,
cool.
Yes, and it's just not good enough for them. This is not good enough. You have to look business.
So that's not weed then, though. To me, that's like hip hop being sold by Milli Vanilli. Like it's business. It's business. It's a copy paste. It's an idea, and it's mass scale. So it's like honestly, there's this split that we can't seem to understand each other.
We voted for legalization. We should have known better. We should have known that by asking the government to regulate a thing and for it to be treated like alcohol, it would get treated like,
Boom.
But I didn't know it was going to be managed by the same people who obviously have implemented lobbyists into their structure, like the AGO or whatever, or the
AGCO.
Lean into the wave, brother.
I know,
would
lean into. I'm sorry, I'm complaining. I don't mean to be.
Let the government run all the stores, just like the LCBO. Because Ange and I had this conversation a couple weeks ago when we were in the liquor store, and you could, like she said, you could advertise and sample the wine. And I said, you know why? because that's the government benefiting from
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's not your private retailer benefiting from it. If the government had a monopoly over cannabis, which is what Kathleen Wynne wanted to do, lean into the wave, brother, and they were allowed to sell all of the cannabis and there were no private retailers, what do you think they would do? They'd open the motherfucking floodgates, they'd reduce taxes, and they'd say, oh, we can sell whatever the fuck you want in whatever volume you want, and we can do samples in our store. I quote me on that.
That
if
shit
it was
may
a government-run thing, they'd have a monopoly and they'd open the floodgates. Because right now they're trying to collect all the money through their tax program.
Yeah.
This is what's stifling your retailers. This is what's stifling your producers. And if they just had government-run stores like they have for alcohol and it was all government-controlled, I bet you'd have your social consumption sites.
Yeah.
You'd have them on every other street.
For sure.
Because that's where you could be creative with like cocktails, or like you could do innovative food eating experiences.
Well, that's where the good capitalism comes in. Where us throwing events, like we're definitely part of the cannabis in that space of like, I want to see an elevated experience, and not every lounge is going to do that.
No, they're not.
Some lounges are going to be like, you see the different markets, like they're just like fucking tables in a garage, and like that's fine for a certain demographic, and each will find, and I'm like, I love that that game is good with me. Like,
have you seen the social consumption site, the Cannacraft? Not Cannacraft. What are they called? The former Pinners guys, Joint Craft.
Yeah.
Adam Verk and John.
They invited us to but we haven't gone yet.
It looks like a great social spot.
Where is it?
Didn't
It's
Brad
up in
Goss?
Vaughan.
Brad Goss did something there.
Oh,
You know
in
the red
Vaughan.
room with all
yeah.
the, and it looks like slot machines, and stuff like that.
That's the old Can Trust building, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Where the Polywall incident happened.
Oh my God.
That's kind of
That's
epic.
history.
It's
That's
history.
historic.
It's history.
Okay, these
should
guys
go. You
every
guys would like
time every time these guys get together, they will absolutely not stop talking.
Oh, yeah,
I'll, you'll never. This will be a 7-hour podcast if I let them go.
Ange is so ready for the car.
Yeah, I can.
sorry.
I know. I was like, I saw you like 20 minutes ago. I tried to wrap it up, but the
No,
boys
they-
just
We
they
kept
they
going.
can't.
I
They
know.
won't. They love each other.
Couple of white dudes.
And it's not because she wants to leave this. We want to stay here and hang out. But our dog, you can
Yeah.
feel his anxiety, right?
Yeah.
He has some. What is it called when you can't be alone?
So
Separation.
Separation. Yeah, he did. He used to too. He's better at it now.
I have that with
They
Winnie.
get better as they get older.
If Max could fit in my lap like that and come
I
to
know.
me,
He
come
comes
with me to
a
work
lot,
and stuff.
yeah. So I want to thank
Okay,
you
yeah,
again.
love you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
And
you,
I
Winnie.
love you
Thank
guys.
you so much.
so much.
Yeah.
And thank you,
Yeah.
and just like all the best. Thanks for staying in weed too. You're, not,
fucking- it was
you know,
close.
yeah.
It was close there for a minute, but
This
yeah.
podcast could have gone either way a couple months ago, right? Yeah.
Brighter days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brighter days.
Brighter
And
days.
everything that we've learned along the way, let's just fucking keep moving.
Ride the wave.
Yeah.
And thank
into it right
you
away.
for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank
That
you
was
for listening to these guys go off.
It is a good rant. I'm excited
It's
to
a
listen
great
to
rant.
it back.
we had
but,
to get a couple more in on the structure.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Wow.
some B-roll, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank
kidding.
you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
So good.
Oh my God.
2 hours.
Welcome to Disciplined Stoners, the gateway drug to mindfulness. Look deeper.
To think that we started this podcast to fight a stigma, only to uncover so much love that we realized that you can't put your energy anywhere but what you want.
Look deeper.
And what we want is authentic conversation. What we want is quality medicine. What we enjoy is each other.
We get to learn from our guests. Manifest the best. I would manifest this.
Part of the magic of the plant is how it uncovers what you've been hiding away.
So much love.
Look deeper. Feel more. Tune in.
So much love. Look deeper.
We're not here to be lazy.
Welcome to Disciplined Stoners,
We're not here to distract ourselves.
the gateway drug to mindfulness.
We're here to learn. We're here to grow.